Hello, room. This is Alan. We're asking a question today. Since Dominicans are Spanish, am I an Englishman? I'm just asking a question, really. Um, Very simple room. Forgive me, I'm at Bucky's. Everybody should go to Bucky's at least once. It's a
What's
miracle.
what's over there?
Everything.
I don't know what it is. Is it shoes? Is it chicken? I don't know.
Shoes, chicken, beef jerky,
Both of them
gas,
go. Wow.
charging stations.
You guys got stuff like that in these places?
I'm gonna put a picture of Bucky's in a jumbotron. Stand by.
I've never heard of it. It's got a lot of things going on for me to have never heard of it. I must be living under a rock.
Well, I think it's a southern thing.
Yeah, but it should, with all those things, if I can get, food, gas, and some pants, I should
What
have known about this store.
what more do you need? Like Bucky's has charging stations. I mean, it's the place to be. All the kids hang out there, you know.
Here's the skirts.
They have skirts, but it's
What
not.
aisle?
Uh, Hell, you gonna let me walk back in there?
No.
They have everything but bullets.
Why are you looking for bullets?
Cause I'm from Alabama.
Uh huh. Some people on this app, huh? Uh huh.
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no. I'm not violent. I'm non-violent. I'm just from Alabama. We love our Second Amendment rights. Come on, Mama.
Mhm.
Talk to the doggy. All right, all right. Let's get to it. Um, if Dominicans and Spanish are and that's my doggy, forgive her, are FBAs English. So where does this come from? This comes from my experience when my me and my wife lived in New York in Rochester. Stand by. Did my truck take over my phone yet? Mm,
No,
okay.
you sound normal. You don't sound like you're in a truck.
Okay, good. All right. So yeah, I went to get my hair cut every Sunday. I mean every Saturday rather, at something called Fidel's White House. And I thought it was a black man. You know what I'm saying? He was darker than me. He had a little bitty white house in Rochester, and it was a barbershop. You know what I'm saying? I used to park my car there and get my little haircut, and they gave some fly ass haircut. Um, but one day we were talking, and I said us as black men, and he said, no, 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 I'm Spanish. So that really made an impression on me. Um, what makes you Spanish? You know, does speaking Spanish make you Spanish? So because if that's true, then surely I'm an Englishman. What are your thoughts, Juan?
I think that we've been talking to lunatics and we haven't noticed it and we've gone along with it by making Spanish Harlem. What? There's no Spanish people over there. There's no Spanish people in Spanish. Spanish people are over in Spain, and that's in Europe. That's in Europe. The Spanish people live in Europe, and they left some colonial dingleberries over here that have believed that they're Spanish. And that's based on being colonized up the wazoo. And that's where the wazoo is located, in case you're a medical professional. They've been colonized up the wazoo if they think they're Spanish, because ask a Spanish person if they want them over there, and they'll say no, they don't. There's some residue that was left over that we don't want anything to do with it. We don't live over there, and we don't want you living over here. You speak Spanish, but you stay over there.
Well, that I had a really good friend, that actually a really nice guy. He died in a car wreck. I went to high school with named Johnny. He was Peruvian, and people from Peru they're a little different. But
Yes.
he would tell me all the time. They got a whole different vibe down there. Well, you know, Wani, but he would tell me all the time. He was like, Spain like did not consider them like the same. Like Spain kind of people in Spain kind of look down upon uh, non-Spaniards. Like basically, the way he is described it to me is there's a high
Kind of.
what?
They kind of looked down on them. I thought they were beating them and killing them.
Yeah, that's the way he put it. But he said it was like a hierarchy, just like if y'all remember, it used to be like in the '90s. It used to be kind of like prestigious if you had an English accent. I love how that's gone. Like I don't want to hear a fucking English accent anymore. But you remember the Pierce Brosnan? Hello, I'm civilized. My
Oh,
buddy,
you mean, yeah, okay, I got you.
yeah, my buddy Johnny used to tell me all the time that Spain, in the Spanish world, Spain used to play that type of game. But what strikes me weird is when essentially when you break it down, there are three what I call slave languages. And I got in trouble when I was professor at an administrator at a historically black college because we had a round table to decide on what languages. We got a grant from it was actually from Trump called the CARES Act, and they had extra money and they wanted to teach the kids at the college a foreign language. And I pushed for some indigenous, I pushed for something more melanated, but the other professors, most of them black, pushed for Spanish and Portuguese. And I got in trouble because I identified, I said, wait a minute, Spanish and Portuguese and English are the slave languages. Those are the languages of slavery, and French, if you want to be technical. So why are we learning languages of slavery? I'm saying that to say that it's amazing how people identify with their abusers. That's what Dr. John Henry Clark would say over and over again. Is we need to study the effects on human beings, the effect of being abused. You know what I'm saying? Because people want to identify with their abuser for some reason, and the purpose of this space is for me to ascertain some understanding as to why people in the Spanish speaking world identify with being Spanish when enslaved and abused people in the English speaking world know damn well we ain't no Englishmen. Any takers on that question?
Well, they've convinced themselves that the indigenous part, and the part that's so crazy is that if when you go down there to like to see some of the pyramids and Chichen Itza and all that stuff, you small, when you go down there, they'll claim to be those people. Oh, this is my proud Mayan culture. But you just told me that you're Spanish and that your grandfather was a bullfighter up in when we were in Mexico City, right? But then he switched it and he had a proud Mayan culture. And I was like, how? Where what changed? So they want to do everything. They want to play peekaboo. I'm this. Well, guess what? Spanish people are not Mayan. So which one are you? And you're saying you're not both. You're not saying I'm biracial. I'm mixed. I'm half Mayan and half Spanish. You're not saying that. You're saying you're Spanish. And you're not identifying with this indigenous part of you. See, that's what they're doing. The only time they identify is if somebody's talking something good about Mayans. Oh, the Mayan calendar, we're all going to die. Oh, now you're Mayan. Okay, got it. That's basically what's going on. They just flip in and out of their identity. I dare someone to say that we're lost. Have never flipped in and out of nothing. I've been the same thing the whole time.
Yeah, like we're the most stable, and I'm not saying this out of arrogance for being an FBA, but we're the most stable fucking group that I've ever encountered. You really touched on something, flipping in and out of an identity. Dr. John Henry Clark years ago said that race is the fakest issue ever. That's his literal words. Like race is the fakest issue ever, and I'm saying that to posit that the Europeans, when they came over here and introducing their crazy concept of race and their filthy fucking languages, English is inadequate. I know that's my language, but I'm gonna say it's inadequate. It's so confusing, but we'll get to that later. When they came over here and gave us these languages, they created confusion, which makes sense to me because confusion is the number one cornerstone to fucking warfare, and that confusion still plays out today with people calling themselves people that look like me and darker than me calling themselves Spanish. And Doctor, what's the guy named Howard? I don't really care for him, but he said something really funny. But Dr. Michael Carr said, the darker the skin, the louder the Spanish. And
Yes, it is.
Andy,
And
what's okay, go
I've
ahead.
asked them to I've asked them to their face. I said, you call yourself Spanish. And they'll say, no, no, I didn't. Once you start getting in their ass, once you start getting in their ass, you said, didn't you say you were Spanish? No, we don't call ourselves that. I said, then what's Spanish Harlem all about? What is that all about? How is that named? Spanish. That should be called Puerto Rican part of town. How did you just drop the Puerto Rican part out of the blue? We've been dealing with lunatics, and I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to call it what it is. They are mentally ill, colonial brain damaged lunatics.
There
And
it is.
that's it.
There it is, Wani. Colonialism fucked our minds up. But somehow the foundational Black American was able to cobble the little pieces of our minds back together. Um, in my world, in the Southeast, you get light skinned people in Alabama and or really in Louisiana, but Alabama too, who get all proud of, ooh, child, that baby got some good hair. Ooh, look at he got some blue eyes. That's insanity. You're praising rape, and I see that issue no different than walking around talking about I'm Spanish when you're not Spanish. When the Spanish don't identify you as Spanish, and I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm not trying to be pejorative. I'm just speaking some real facts here. Does speaking a language make you the language? Am I an Englishman? No, I'm not. But what do I know? Andy, what are your thoughts on this?
I think this is an excellent conversation because we see how artifacts of culture, um, the twisting of a narrative, colonialism, imperialism, and racism all at play, but it's wrapped in language. I learned that language is an institution. Well, it doesn't mean that that institution has to be sound, humane, or uncorrupted. So they call themselves Spaniards to keep from basically calling themselves what we now call ourselves, and that's descendants of slavery. So, no, Dominicans are not Spanish. FBAs are not English. And nationality, geography, location, those things matter. It's where your history and your culture develop. So, how can a Dominican who lives in Hispaniola or right next door to Haiti, Northern America, Latin America, how can they be Spaniards? So this, I agree with Wani. Colonialism has just killed people's brain cells. It's killed logic. But I think what it has done for us is that we actually see the shame and the embarrassment that the majority.
But I miss him. But Bubba said that it used to be an Iceman to come around, and there was a black Iceman and a white Iceman. And Bubba said that he would always support the black Iceman, but the other neighbors would be like, "Man, the white Iceman's ice is colder." So I'm saying that to say that that cliche is actually fucking real, and it's real sad. I
Wow.
wanted to, yeah, it's real. It's real. Um, that Granddaddy also
Is that
said
where
that
they get the
next,
saying?
yeah, yeah, it's I like it. I don't know if they got it from Alabama, but that was a real thing back in the
And they
day. Black
needed the
people would,
coldest ice to keep it in the ice box, right?
right, they had an ice box, and they would prefer the white man's ice. I don't know if the white ice makers would have a propaganda of our ice is colder. I don't know.
I don't
That would be a
know. I
smart.
don't understand how it could be colder. Either it's frozen or it's not frozen.
But black people would prefer to get the white man's ice. I don't know if that.
Is
It goes
that
back to what Andy was saying.
is that possible? My ice cube could possibly be colder than your ice cube in the refrigerator.
It's not. It's not possible. If they all were using another
Because
element like CO2. Be
if it
different.
was if it was not colder, I mean, if it was, yeah, if it was not colder, then it would be melting, right? And the black man wasn't selling water or
Right.
melting ice. So therefore they are crazy.
That's the damage of colonialism. It's like fucked our minds up. I want to identify something that maybe the room didn't know. Um, Andy said was cooking on some interesting things. She said, I'm paraphrasing you, Andy, but she was identifying language, uh, like that different languages comes with a culture. So the reason why we never ever got away with saying, "Hello, I'm an Englishman," was because in English culture is heavily um, graduated. Like there's a uh, top of the line in England, like that goes back to that blue blood royal family. So what I'm trying to say is racial purity, whatever the fuck that means, is very important to England. We all know this. You know what I'm saying? Look at who's catching hell in England right now. Uh, what's the mixed girl's name? I don't even keep up with them. That married the
Um,
what's her name?
a
The
mixed
prin-
girl.
the
Oh,
princess.
Margaret
Yeah.
Meghan Markle. Did she? What happened?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. She's catching all kind of hell because she got black genealogy, right? That's like common sense. But what I'm trying to posit is in England, being pure, being a blue blood is a virtue, whereas in English society, your racial makeup constitutes your status in society. The highest status being a pure blue
Yeah.
blood. I mean, them
They're out
motherfuckers.
of their mind because they're not pure and they're German and they're not even the same ethnicity as the people that they're governing. So that's funny right there.
It's insanity all the way around. But them folks, apparently, they must think they're pure because they marry their relatives. Like that's crazy. Like they have
They
some type
had
of yeah.
they had inbreeding very badly with the Habsburgs. So and then they have that hemophilia that's developing because of their refusal to marry Meghan Markle.
Yeah, so that's English culture. English culture, you're identified based on like your genetics. Like I need to know who are you. I got a friend or a colleague I went to high school with. Not really nice family, but they're pure um, lineage. They're like the Mayflower class because some of them did make it to Alabama. But anyway, I remember when my good friend from high school was getting married. He got married a couple years before I did. And I was just so shocked how that process went. He met a girl he really liked. They had a lot in common. They both went to bars and smoked cigarettes, and it was just like a match made, right? But before he got permission, I was like, got permission? Got permission to marry her. His mama had to check all of her paperwork. And back then, I didn't understand what that meant, but now I get it. They were looking through her lineage to make sure it wasn't no Negroes in a family tree. That stuff is deep, man. People
Who
take
is
that stuff
this?
seriously.
What city
Uh,
is it in what area?
Birmingham, Alabama, 2010,
Wow.
2010. Yeah,
She
yeah,
wanted to make sure no tan grandchildren popped out.
yeah.
Sometimes you
Like,
gotta pop up.
I wouldn't give a fuck. Like, I don't think anybody in this room would give a fuck. Like, oh, okay, you're mixed with Asian. Okay, rock on. If a little half Asian looking baby came out, I would honestly think that in the FBA community, somebody would say, oh, that's cute. You know what I'm saying? But his mama was like, "Oh hell no, you're not marrying her till she gets checked out."
Did she look like she might be,
Not at all. She looks whiter than he does.
damn, that's
Yes,
weird.
real nice people, but they have a different priority. Well, back to the subject at hand. The English were the worst, and I don't know much about the Germans, so maybe the German are more strict. I don't know much about German history, but the English were awful. Well, um, right behind the English, you had the Spanish. The Spanish were all mixed up from their history. They were all mixed up with lineage. Being pure white was a virtue, but the Spanish would let you get by. You know what I'm saying? If you had similar cultural attributes, particularly in the Dominican Republic, what I was told and what I read was if you were a member of a certain faith, you had until 18 to decide in that church if you wanted to be white or not. Now, you could be jet black with coiled hair and decide that you were white, and that church, that specific church, would say, okay, henceforth and forever on, you are a white man. And that the guy who was cutting my hair in Rochester, New York, took that oath. He took the oath as a white man. Now he's jet black. He married a black girl that was like my color, but he considered himself Spanish and white. Um, and he was of Dominican origin. So I thought that was really interesting. In addition, the French were the most lenient. And there's a danger in French culture because the French don't really care about your racial makeup. They care about your attitude and your talents. So if you have some type of rare talent, you can dance, you're a medical doctor, you're a scientist, you have some talent,
Like
and you
Josephine Baker.
there you go. And you identify with French and you speak proper French, you can be French, which gets a lot of people in trouble because, uh, people in Africa amalgamate with the French. And it happened in New Orleans. I read something, my students and I read something very interesting a couple of weeks ago. We were looking at it was called was it Noir, Code Noir, I think is the name of it, which means black code. And there was a code so Louisiana has a whole different law than the rest of the United States. It's called Napoleonic Code. Don't ask me about it. I don't know. All I know is in law school, they said, man, if you're going to take the Louisiana bar, you better just go back to law school. But anyway, up under a Napoleonic Code, um, the enslaved women, if a white man got them pregnant, the Napoleonic Code Noir dictated that you had to marry that black woman. And if she had a baby by you, you could not divorce her. So that gave a black woman a kind of a status. That's where Creole came from. Creole came from the white Frenchmen being forced to marry. In some cases, they actually wanted to marry black women. A lot of cases, because a lot of white boys would line up at the dock um, at the slave ship and pick the prettiest, little enslaved African girls or indigenous girls and marry them. So it was consensual in a lot of cases. Forget that loud ass semi truck that just passed by me. I don't know why it's so loud.
I didn't even
But
hear it.
this iPhone 16 Plus, whatever Pro Max, is actually showing off because it was louder than a motherfucker. It got canceled out. But yeah, so uh, they had a preferred status if you married a white guy in Louisiana, and that still stood. So that was a little different. And that's where the word Creole came from, the mixing, from what I read, the mixing,
Let me
the mixture has status.
let me add one thing just to let you see something. Um, and then we'll go to Midwest. In England, they had a history of using poor English women and Irish women as, maids and scullery maids and all that kind of thing in those big houses. And they would get those women pregnant and they were not forced to marry them. In fact, the moment that they would get pregnant or were thought to be pregnant, they would ship them off to the workhouse or the brothel, where they would have their baby in the brothel, and that would result in their children being sexually abused in there. And they have proof of it because a lot of people that are buried in this pauper's grave over in the UK, which was associated with a brothel, they had advanced syphilis. Here's the catcher: they were 17 years old and they had 10 years worth of syphilis development. Yeah, that was common. So they
Nasty.
Yeah, so their children were born in there and then they were raped. So when you got kicked out of that big house, you, like all that action Jack the Ripper was doing, a lot of those type that there were lots of women like that, just thrown to the wolves. Nobody cared anything about them, just trashed, drunk, being used for sex and just treated like garbage. When Anyway, that's the way they treated their women, very, very poorly. So when white women over here, they were called a lady. A lady is a title in England, but they said that everyone over here is now a lady and a sir. But sir, like if you get knighted or whatever, you you have to be a lady. Those are titles. But over here in America, a white woman, any status could be a lady and a man could be sir. So this is a fresh start for white people that were white trash. Go ahead, Midwest.
Oh, I want to quickly add to that. Hold on, Midwest. That's so powerful what you just said. Dr. Claude Anderson said that he argued that this is the old royalist system, and what Wani said was so true. White women were allowed to have the title that Wani was talking about. The category was Esquire. Now, attorneys get that status in a lot of states. It means you're above. You're an administrator of the system. Therefore, people call you sir. They call you ma'am. They call you lady. And the ladies were called Goody. That was your official title. It was Goody Wani. Good morning, Goody Wani. And the term Goody Two Shoes came from lower class women that had to deal with the goodies. They would give them their yes.
That's
Would give them.
funny.
They would
Remember
give them.
all those people's name was Goody during the I was like, why is everybody being called Goody during that those witch trials? Remember?
Yes, yes.
We was all coming into view.
Yep, it's a title like that you got if you were a lady, or well, if you were white, and it was Goody. And when they would walk out after collecting taxes or cussing you out, or taking your child or whatever, the cuss word would be, "Oh, Goody Two Shoes. She thinks she's better than me." But go ahead, go ahead, Midwest.
Two shoes, huh?
Yeah, Wani, I was thinking, were those eunuchs that could have been, and I wanted to hear your idea about Jack the Ripper. But before that, a professor, I realized that lady you talking about, the mother-in-law, even though that wife didn't look like, she looked like a lily white woman, she probably had like a big butt. Like I think
Which
Pelopesian. I'm being
I
serious.
know.
Like I wouldn't. So I'm expecting Andy to say something. I thought Andy would have said this, but she probably had a big butt and big thighs. And you know how like Tariq talks about Sicilians, and you talk about the rape and everything. She was like, and it was, and she probably didn't get the. I got some experience, the girls they get the injections in their butt, they get the dots, okay, whatever. But that's probably what it was.
It was something to be looking that hard.
And the lips, the nose, the hips, the thighs, and she knew the girl wasn't a power lifter. That's what it was.
I remember back in the day they called them nigger lips, and some white girl um in the school had it wasn't she didn't have big lips, but she had I don't know how you it was like they were never mind. They were bigger than they were than white people. And they called her nigger lips. And
Whoa,
and now she was white, and it was just like now people would pay to have those lips. I just find it crazy how we really have affected the beauty standard because we said, yeah, we're not getting lip reductions over here unless you're Jay-Z. But yeah, we weren't getting lip reductions and stuff. That was shade that I throw at Jay-Z.
the first white girl with like lips I saw on TV was Angelina Jolie, and I
Mhm.
wonder, were those her lips or did
Yes,
she buy
those
them?
are her lips.
Oh, no, you're lying, Professor. That was that lady. It was the girl off of Boy Meets World, Topanga.
She's Hispanic
Oh,
though.
is that
Isn't she Hispanic?
I think she's a
Let's
mutt.
look her up. She might be Hispanic. She did also have lips. Yeah, Angelina Jolie's, those are her lips. I saw her picture when she was 14 and her daughter has the same lips. So, yeah, she's one of those people that, I think her mother's French. They get around. The French bloodline is very interesting.
oh, so she could have a Negro in the woodpile, huh?
Yeah, of course she does. Those are not German.
Her dad,
Those are not Germanic lips.
her dad hates black.
Oops. John Boyd. Anyway, it was so odd because Dominicans specifically were angry that we Black Americans were delineating. And they approached me on two fronts. They said, first of all, you don't get to change the black box on the census. We're mad about that. And they went and had some sort of meeting up in Boston, and we weren't allowed to go in. The Black Americans up there weren't allowed to go in, while some uh, foreigners and Dominican Republic people and other foreigners went in, had a meeting, and closed the door in their face. And I said, what right do Dominicans and Hispanics have to talk about this box on the census? They don't even check that box. They check the Hispanic box. These motherfuckers are all over the place. They don't know whether they're coming or going. One minute you're Mayan, the next minute you're Spanish. Now you're fighting and arm wrestling us over our identity. Well, we're then they start crying and copping pleas. Well, we're black, and the white Hispanics down here treat us bad. Well, guess what? Let me make this perfectly clear. Everybody, open your ears. I don't give a fuck if white Hispanics treat you bad. You didn't do your job. You did not fight for civil rights. You did not tell them to sit the hell down. And they're standing up over you, and you cannot fight for civil rights if you want to be the people that you're trying to fight. How is Sammy Sosa going to fight Mark McGuire if he wants to look like Mark McGuire? How is that going to work? They don't want to fight. They just want to marry and blend themselves out, okay? Until they look like these people they're mad at, supposedly. They're only temporarily mad. And I was just beside myself when this attractive woman who was in Carnival, she won some sort of award. I think she was made Miss Carnival or something in Brazil, and she was a dark skinned woman. And people started attacking her. Like, oh, you're not cute enough to be Miss Blah. They were all on her stuff. And I said, these ignorant motherfuckers, I'm ready to get mad. But you know why I shut the hell up? Because her white boyfriend came out of the woodworks and started defending her. So I don't care what you're doing over there. I don't care if white people are dragging you around on a leash. You did not fight for civil rights, and therefore you don't deserve them. And you don't deserve them here. The people that got sprayed with hoses and beat up deserve them, not you. Go do something with yourself.
Yeah, go ahead, Andy, because Andy really cooked it earlier when she said that the colonialism basically structured what she posited was the whole European, the whole Western power structure was built upon race. And right now we're watching it. Well, shit, and in my view, the way I see things is that power structure is crumbling and everybody's losing their mind. Go ahead, Andy.
I love the part that Wani brings out about how they're allowed to discuss us, how everyone else is allowed to weigh in on our racial and ethnic issue. Now, you have to ask yourself, why is everyone so upset about the delineation of Black Americans? And I really, really do believe they're upset because it's going to expose a lot of the fraud, one, how people double dip. It's going to really upend our racialized hierarchy because they will not. I really believe that the white people are going to go full out in balkanization, and they're going to say, okay, everyone who's not us is going to have to be identified as well. So they've been riding on our coattails for so long until they believe that we should use our capital, our political and social capital, to continue to slave and mule. And we provide a buffer for them from white supremacy. It's one of the reasons no one wants Trump reelected because they really do believe if he gets in, he's going to unleash white supremacy on them. See, as long as it was just us, everyone was comfortable about that. Because as soon as we had COVID,
Facts.
yes. And so I believe, and I hate to say it, if that's his intention, if that's what's going to happen, I'm here for it.
Yeah, yeah, we were always the scapegoat, like the last space I identified. But you're right. What I'm starting to see, which is, and let me say this in my space, I don't condone violence. I'm a nonviolent person. I'm a scholar, but I'm not going to sit up here and lie. And what I see in my view, is the white, lower class white power structure, kind of in a lot of ways aligning with the foundational Black American power structure. I may be wrong. I don't know everything, but it looks like those two power structures are starting to find more common ground, at least more common ground than I saw in Alabama in the '90s. You know what I'm saying? And other elite groups are starting to freak out. They're like, "Oh shit! If Trump gets in, what's the possibility of them unifying against us?" Which was the biggest scare in the 1800s, and another big scare during the 60s. There's speculation that that's why Fred Hampton got assassinated. Is Fred Hampton started to unify the Ku Klux Klan with the brothers? I forgot the street gang, but the brothers in the streets of Chicago, and that was a big no-no.
My only issue with that, Professor Allen, is that we have found that even when we ally with the poor whites, because this is what this Reverend Barber, that's what he's trying to do, and this is what angers me about my people, um, especially in 2024. All those white people are starting to echo a lot of our sentiment. It's not the other way around. They're echoing us as they always do. Peckerwoods cannot now or ever be our friends. See, before the Civil War, they had an opportunity to actually stand up because you had a lot of those same white people as you do now who were suffering because of trades and unions and different things like that. See, the Peckerwoods were closed out. They were one step above slaves. Only difference was it wasn't codified for them. So, in my opinion, they it's centuries missed for them to stand up on their own 2 feet. We're looking at the collapse of capitalism and that always, and that beneficial part for them. We're actually watching this, right? Don't come to me now, is what I'm saying. For Black Americans, our litmus test must be, and we can't vary from this, people. Our litmus test must be: do you support reparations? See, I don't care that you want immigrants gone because that's just xenophobia. We're the indigenous people. This is my country in the first damn place. So I don't even want to hold that conversation with you. I don't care that you're being replaced by scab labor. You know why? Because you've always discriminated against me. You've always held me out of the unions. Every time we try to build up our economic independence away from you, you've killed me. So I can't, right now, I cannot solidify, I cannot unify with anybody unless and only if you agree with cash reparation. And see, black people have to say that very importantly. You can't just say land back. You can't just say money. You have to say cash reparations. And you all know what I think about currency, capital, and cash and assets. That's the reason I keep saying that. So unless you agree with that as a white person, I can't unify with you.
Yeah, cash is very important because this system has figured out ways to finesse money through certain programs, and education can become a big finesse. Um, the system of education, I'm saying this as a professional, it has not really served our children in the first place. Like, there's no real data to show that the educational system really works for foundational Black American kids. What I'm getting at is we need the money to start our own schools. I mean, from the bottom up, we need to build, like Booker T. Washington built Tuskegee. We need to build some high schools and some middle schools, elementary schools all across the country. And guess what? We need to pay some people like me to build a Black curriculum. I taught physics one year in Memphis, and I can't tell you all the racist comments I had to ignore from teachers saying, "Oh, they're not gonna get it. Oh, they don't know. They don't care about this. I took those books and I wrote physics equations using NBA Youngboy because he was hot back then. And I rewrote the same damn question using instead of saying John and Jane were in an aircraft and it rapidly decelerated. I put NBA Youngboy was in his Bentley and his baby mama called and he was going 60 miles an hour. His baby mama called. He reached down to get the phone, ran a stoplight, slammed on the brakes, and decelerated to zero in 4 seconds. What was his rate of deceleration? Damn near 100% of my class was passing them tests. Do you know that a teacher from the Dominant Society reported me and tried to get me my license revoked because I used the word baby mama on a test question? My question to her is, why in the fuck are you around our children? Why are you here? It didn't work, of course, but I brought that up to say that we need more of that. We need scholars. We need people writing books that can put our children in these books, but not just education. We need our own medical system. Our bodies are different. About several spaces ago, Wani and I identified with Dr. Michael Bradley's book that the European diet was different. You know, it involved
Meat and
meats,
milk.
it involved
They, a
meat
lot of
and
them
milk.
come from the steppe region, and that's what they've been eating for thousands of years. Not all of them, because remember, I'm doing everybody's genealogy, and so people that went directly to Southern Europe did not eat meat and milk. But the ones that came from the steppe area that migrated to those places later to the British Isles and further into west and other parts of Europe, they do eat meat and milk. And this country sells what? Meat and milk.
Meat and milk. I ate some ice cream before I left to Atlanta, and my stomach is fucked up right now.
You can get
I
vegan ice cream.
no, I got some.
Why you harming yourself? Just eat something that doesn't do all that. There's plenty of choices at this point. There's
Man,
tons of non-dairy, there's tons of vegan, there's tons of everything. There's no reason to burden yourself with these offensive foods that cause problems. And if you can take it, take
Wani, Wani, that's
yes.
not true. There
What?
should be nothing that everybody should be willing to suffer for Haagen Dazs. You should be willing to suffer for Haagen Dazs. I'm sorry.
Okay, I have had a lot of Haagen Dazs in my life up until becoming vegan. So I can't even say anything because I was all up in that place begging to go. And there's nothing that's going to taste as good as butter pecan Haagen Dazs. I will not even lie to you. There's some good stuff. There's some good stuff, but it is not going to taste like if you like the creamy butter pecan, I ain't gonna lie to you. They didn't get that one right yet. But then again, I might be wrong. I didn't try them all because I don't even eat stuff like that hard. Go ahead, Twizzle.
Hey y'all, how y'all doing this evening? Wani, I got an ice cream better than that for you. And you wouldn't
What?
believe me if I told you. And if
Cold
I say
Stone?
it, no. If I say it, y'all gonna be like,
Hot Stone?
Y'all gonna be like, but you have to
Don't you
try
say
it.
Baskin and Robbins.
I'm not gonna even say that. What I'm gonna say is if you ever come to the Bay Area during the Gilroy Garlic Festival, try the garlic almond praline. That is
I
the best ice
heard
cream in the
about
world.
that.
That is the best ice cream in the world. Whenever they have the Gilroy Garlic Festival, that is the longest line.
I
That
like
line is
garlic.
damn near a quarter mile long.
I don't like it in my
Garlic,
ice cream though.
that garlic almond praline, and
Yeah,
people be like garlic, ugh, but you have to taste it. You know,
I
you may
believe
hear the
you.
garlic, and you may, but once you taste it, you're gonna be hooked like crack. And Professor, I want to tell you that vegan ice cream, they make it with soy milk. You know what I'm saying? So that's why
No,
your stomach is hurting.
he's gonna get the pea protein next time.
Yeah, because that vegan ice cream is made with soy milk, and you know that soy milk is
Yep, it
liquid
blows up
plastic.
your stomach.
Yeah, it's liquid plastic. It's not good for us. You know, like a lot of our brothers that's behind the walls due to circumstances behind, whatever. They feed a lot of them soy-based food, and a lot of them soy-based products. So whenever they come home, a lot of them are dying of cancer and brain aneurysms and a lot
It's
of that
bad
shit.
on the hormones
Yes,
too.
yes. So
You
that
might
soy
get
is
some
not
boobs
cool.
too.
Yeah, so like these vegans. Vegans who don't eat like all that, they eating soy based foods, and like Dick Gregory say, soy people who eat soy are the biggest cancer patients out. That's all I want to say, y'all. Hey, happy
Yep.
Sunday, and down with the Cowboys. Peace, y'all.
I heard a I was told about soy by from a person who had a vegan restaurant, and she used soy, a really, really good soy recipe to make what is called chimichurri. It's like meat on a skewer, but it was so good that meat eaters were in there lined up to get it because it tasted better than any kind of meat on earth, and it wasn't meat. But she was telling them, she said, I hate to say this, you shouldn't have this very often. Yeah, you can have it once a week. But they were coming in every day, and she said, you can't eat this every day because soy is just not good for you.
That's what that Impossible Burger is. Nothing but soy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you should not have soy, but there's plenty of non soy burgers. People are hip to the soy. But again, let me tell you this, this country uh, grows a lot of soy. So they were using it for other things, and they got wind that they could make meat products out of it. And they said, oh, let's stop making fun of vegans and let's start making a bunch of vegan products, milks and meats and stuff like that. But no, 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 no. Soy will, it just blows your stomach up. It's very irritating, just like regular milk, but for different
Your
reasons.
body
Go
can't
ahead.
digest it. Your body can't
Yeah.
digest it, so it sits there. Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Midwest.
Hey, I was going to ask you guys, what about the Maasai? Because what I have an iron deficiency. I don't like milk, but when I eat steak and I take iron supplements, I can sleep 6, 7 hours a day
What did you say?
and
What
be
about the
fine.
what?
Maasai, is that how you call them? Maasai, Maasai, the Spartans of the
Oh,
Africa.
yeah, 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 yeah. What about them?
They drink blood and
Well,
milk
they
Oh,
go
and
over
eat a
there
lot
and
of
they
red
beat
meat.
up the lion, so we really can't play with them. They'll go in and pimp slap. If you ready to pimp slap a lion and take its meat, I am not saying shit about you. You win.
Yeah, but I mean like the diet, because I mean I
Well,
have an
yeah,
iron deficiency
a
and I eat
lot of
red meat, and that's the
people,
only way I can.
a lot of people out there eat uh they're adapted to eating like that. Like Eskimos eat seal blubber and they're fine. They're perfectly healthy. They don't even have any vegetables over there because nothing can grow in the tundra. They get the vegetables from the stomach linings of marine animals and little pieces of things that are able to grow. Yeah, they're healthy as they're healthy. They're adapted to it. And Maasai are adapted as well. They're fine. They look healthy. They're fine. Except for the white women trying to rape them on the beach. Everything's fine.
I'll tell you something
You
interesting about
stupid.
the Maasai. It's they're a group of white. Yeah, she's telling the truth. They're a group of white scientists from the Ivy League that follow the Maasai around and they steal their fucking poop. Like they say it's an enzyme in the Maasai.
You know what else they did to them? They made Maasai barefoot technology shoes because they said they walk with a certain gait, and they made a whole zero heel shoe technology out of the way they walk because they walk in a certain way. I swear to God, they on them boys.
Yeah, they follow them around and they steal their shit. That's like what type of job is that? Like, wait till he takes a shit and steal it.
Yeah, well, it's better than following an elephant. Okay, they're upgraded from those guys.
Professor, I know you know about this.
Sir,
Remember when the Dugon tribe came into prominence? What did they do to them? They put them on the microscope because of the technology and some of the teachings and the science that they had. Them European scientists and them European scientists professors couldn't understand it, like how this primitive tribe of Africa have secrets and technology that we can't see with our major telescopes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So they've been studying us from the beginning of time, especially with our queens. What Henrietta Lacks, how they study her genes and stuff like that, on how they pay attention to us. We are the most number one. subjected, microscopic. I mean, examine people on the planet, because whatever we do, they watch us and pay attention to what we do to see if they can capitalize on what we do. You know what I'm saying? So this conversation is deep. Shout out to y'all with this, and hey, shout out to us, because no matter what we do, we still gonna be the most admired people on the planet, no matter how much they talk about us. And Sister Wani, notice everything they say that we should not do, and everything that they talk about us is what they're trying to cover themselves in and glorify. You know what I'm saying? So hey, y'all go ahead and let's keep this ball rolling, man. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, the Dogon discovered. Was it Proxima B? I forget. There's a star system
The
with a
Sirius
dead
B
star.
system, the Sirius B star system, where they discovered that star uh, eclipsed the dwarf planet that was next to it. And what made it so significant was that they knew, only the Dugon knew, that that planet and star eclipsed each other every 45.5 years. You know what I'm saying? Every 45 and a half years is when that planet eclipsed. You know how it takes the Earth 365 days to eclipse the sun? Well, those two planets, it took them 45 years to do it. But how they eclipsed, it didn't go round, they intertwined like a braid, and only the Dugons knew that, and the scientists didn't know it. But they discovered that in the late '80s and early '90s, when they felt like, when they finally was able to build a telescope powerful enough to see that. You know what I'm saying?
I think it goes back. Well, I'm not going to speculate on Dogon. There's a really good book. If y'all want it, DM me and I'll send you the PDF. It's called The Pale Fox, and it talks about the Dogon. So the Dogon work again with nature, which is the Egyptians said, Medunet, or Mother Nature, nature being the technology. Well, anyway, the Dogon had some type of ceremony, and maybe Twizzle knows more. I haven't read that book in years, but it was some type of technology where they would do something on. It was a primitive computer, a biological computer, where they would throw bones or something and do something with the bones on in the
Yeah,
dirt and
it
leave the
wasn't
shit
a
alone.
computer. What they would do, they would make symbols in the ground, and they would put stones in there. You know what I'm saying? And this something that's passed down to generations and generations. The kids start playing this game as little as early as 6. But one thing that's so unique about that, Professor, and I'm glad you brought that up, that unique form of communication is how they used to communicate with the animals in the vicinity around there. Because they would put those symbols in the ground, and then when
That's
they
what I'm
leave,
talking
yeah,
about.
when
The
they
fox.
leave, they will
Yes.
come back, and those stones and those symbols will be different. They will be arranged different, and it will be like in different symbols, and that's how they used to communicate with the animals. I'm not gonna say the Dugons, I'm not gonna give them the credit, because they were the last ones to be known about it, but they were saying the Dugons were like one of the last tribes, one of the last gypsy tribes that fled Egypt when Egypt got sacked. So they were like some of the last original people from Egypt. That's why they had the original secrets with them when they left. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they claim to be Egyptians, and from my studies, that does seem that is correct, because Chancellor Williams identified that. One second, I see something on fire on the highway. Interested. There's red glow. Someone's burning. Chancellor Williams identified that when he fell, it ran from ways, and a certain group of the high priests, like
Your
the
mic messing up,
Brother, you're
Professor.
still
experienced
breaking
amount.
up.
Professor,
And
Professor,
Hey,
you in the
brother,
You're
you're
breaking
breaking
matrix.
up
up a
real
little bit.
You
bad.
in the
Just a
matrix,
little bit.
Professor.
What's going on over there in
I
terms
talk.
of
You in the matrix, Professor, man.
Somebody's listening to him.
Sister Wani.
yes.
Bop, 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 bop. Sister Wani, you know what's been going on up here lately with these immigrants now? They've been hitting the liquor stores up. They've been tearing up stores. And what I mean by stores, like at night when they close the liquor stores, on how they pull the steel shutters down and everything. These immigrants have been tearing the shutters down and whooping the walls down, going in there, stealing the ATMs, the alcohol, and the lottery tickets lately.
Yeah, they don't care. They're going
They
crazy.
tearing everything up. They've been hitting like damn near every liquor store up in
Mm-hmm.
Oakland. And
I
like
believe
I
it.
get up early in the morning to start my work at 5 in the morning. When I go, each time I go by a liquor store, you see it wide open. Dolphins and homeless people running out there with man, all kind of shit. And they've been tearing it up lately, and that's the immigrants. So as I say, what happens in California finna come to you. So watch y'all stores and watch y'all neighborhoods because it's finna happen, man.
Can y'all hear me now? I went through like a the forest. It's like a
Yes.
dead spot. Can y'all hear me
Yeah,
now? If I go out, y'all just go ahead and start talking. But yeah, I'm almost in Atlanta, so it should be better in a minute. But anyway, Twizzle's right. I just came back from Memphis, and I went through the hood to visit a friend, man, and it was full of like I don't know where those people from El Salvador or whatever, but I've never seen so many immigrants like fucking wearing like our clothes and shit. Like I'm like, whoa, I don't know where they came from, but yeah, they have infiltrated our neighborhoods big time, my friend. This is getting serious.
dude, they're stealing, bro. They're stealing like they're doing. I mean, what Donald Trump has said was correct. I know a lot of people don't like him, but dude, they're doing the most crimes, bro. And Sister Wani, cause she in California. Wani, those sideshows? Those are the main ones doing the sideshows, and they do them all night long. And they don't have sideshows; they
What's a
drift. A
sideshow?
sideshow is like when they meet up
I've
all
never
like
heard of
12
that.
o'clock, like
What's
late
the
night,
cycle?
about 20,
Seriously.
like 200 300 people, and they get in the middle of the street and they start doing donuts. Well, that's what we used to do.
Oh
We
yeah,
used to
yeah,
do donuts,
yes,
but
they
now these
do.
immigrants they drift. So what they doing now? They stealing cars. They stealing cars just to hit up the sideshow. And the number one stolen car. And if you have an Infinity, you better get insurance on that motherfucker ASAP. Because the number one stolen car in California is an Infinity and anything with a Hellcat. You know what I'm saying? If you have an Infinity with rear wheel drive, you better put a lock on it, on the lock on the steer wheel and the brake, and make sure your sunroof is covered because they go through the sunroof now. They don't bust your windows or your lock. They bip your sunroof, like bust your sunroof window, and they slide in that way. That's what they doing out here.
One of my students had a former life of crime. And I asked him about that shit because in Memphis, like Infinity's like get stole left and right. My neighbor's
But you see,
Infinity
you
got
know what I'm
stole.
talking about,
Like,
right? The
and
number one stolen car.
oh, listen to this shit. So I asked one of my students, say he's kind of like on a rehabilitation program. He was a good kid. He just had to do what he had to do. That's all. But anyway, he was like, man, I said, how the fuck y'all doing that? Because Infinity's kind of like a high tech car. And he said what you said, Twizzle. He said he bips the sunroof. Then you go in through because the sunroof don't trip the alarm. And he said you go on TikTok and you get a flash drive and you download a virus off TikTok. And you when you bip the sunroof, you go in there and you put the flash drive in a little USB port, and the virus downloads in the Infinity and starts the engine. I was like, man, y'all can do all that shit, but you can't write my research paper. Come
Dude,
on,
I be
man.
seeing shit online, bro, where dudes they walk around with like something like a little antenna and they walk around to get the signal. Once they get the signal, somebody go in there and they hit the lock, they start that motherfucker up and be gone. You know what I'm saying? They got all kind of ways on how to
That's
structure.
that.
Yeah,
That's that new
dude.
shit.
Then out here in California, you got these immigrants pulling up in front of people's houses 4 deep with choppers and you know what I'm saying, switches talking about don't come outside. Don't come outside. We finna take your shit. Don't come outside. Dude, it's crazy out here, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's why I don't want no high performance car, no car to do no car with rear wheel drive to do that burn rubber or anything because that's all these young car thieves want. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about stealing cars, tagging them no more. They just want to steal cars just to burn rubber and have sideshows and act a fucking fool so they can say what they did that night, then set it on fire in the middle of the street.
Man, Memphis is the capital of that type of shit.
I swear to God, I'm gonna get me a dash cam. I'm gonna get me a dash cam, and every weekend I'm just gonna drive around and show y'all, man. Cause I swear to God, I could get a YouTube channel for the shit that I see on my early morning escapades. But hey, I'm from the Pastor Mike. Shout out to you, Professor. Shout out to Sister Wani. I don't want Wani mad at me, so hey, shout out, y'all.
Hey,
All
what's up,
right,
Joe?
go ahead, Jet. Like,
Shit.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in on what Twizzle was saying because I'm here in Oakland right now, and the Mexicans they be starting the sideshows. We might be watching this shit, but they really set it off, and they have a whole bunch of stolen ass cars and the shit. Um, and yeah, the migrants is definitely stealing hella cars for sure. Like I said, it's an epidemic out here right now. Like they're everywhere.
Dude, you should have seen how they hit the stone 80th and East 14th, bro. Right there across the street from the
Man,
tire shop. They
bruh.
towed that whole wall off, bro.
Man, my
That
pop
wall
stayed.
is
He stayed on
brick
30th
and
and Telegraph.
concrete.
They drove a motherfucking car straight through the door over there, snatching all the
Yes,
new parts and
yes.
hella shit. Like
Yeah, dude,
it's
they will throw a
crazy.
car in reverse and bag that
The
whole
bad
motherfucker
part,
up and tear,
man, the
yeah,
bad
tear the
part
whole
about this shit
door off.
is they
Yeah.
think that we doing this shit though.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
we
saying?
getting
Like
blamed
we
for the
ain't
shit.
like we not even like that's some old school shit. We ain't even starting the side shows nowadays. It's them motherfuckers. The fucking Mexicans is really doing that shit, and then they get out there and start shooting and doing hella shit like unnecessary shit. But we taking the rap for it. But yeah, it's definitely
And
getting
then
fucked
hey,
up
and
out here.
then leave the car in the middle of the street and set it on
Yo,
fire. And set it
yo,
on fire.
you ain't lying, bro. Setting shit on fire, doing hella shit. Like they doing a lot. Like it's not you ain't lying, bro.
What do they think they playing Grand Theft Auto or some shit?
They can get away with anything, bro. They don't go to jail. They don't have no immigrant like
They don't even
immigrants.
got no
They get
papers or
away,
nothing.
man,
So
bro. The police.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it be
immigrants are
hella
the
of them out
police
there. So
now.
it's kind of hard to catch everybody. You feel me?
Yeah, the immigrants
It'll
are
really be
police,
like 200
dude.
people in the street.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? One car on fire, and the party's going. I mean, it be lit. Don't get. I don't be participating. I might be observing, but yeah.
hey, it be lit, literally, huh? I've never been to Oakland, man. I hear
Dude,
somebody,
you talking about like
it be lit
it's
on
so
fire, huh?
wild, dude. It ain't lit. It's wild. Like
It's
when you
crazy.
see it, it's
It's
like
getting
third.
crazy.
It's like, dude, it's anarchy, bro. Because
It's
you be
starting
like, you
to
don't believe it,
it's
you
starting to
know,
get look like Mad Max out this motherfucker for
dude.
real.
It's Wild
Excuse my
West,
French.
dude. You really have to have it with you. It's Wild West out here, bro.
Good.
These
Oh
motherfuckers be
shit.
riding around with those
Uh
masks, like those COVID masks
man,
on,
hey man, I
and
wish
if
the
if
taco
they
would
pull up on
goddamn
you
it.
with that back
Like
Can you
window
hear
down,
each
it's
other?
about to go down.
Can you hear each other?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
yeah. Sorry, we was talking at the same time.
Okay, I just want to make sure because sometimes people can't hear each other.
One of my students was wearing one of those masks y'all talking about, and I asked him. I said, "Man, why you wearing that mask, man?" And he said, "No cap, Doctor A." I'm sorry, that man said, "No cap, Doctor A, no face, no case."
You know what I heard, Professor? I heard a young dude say, as long as I come out the house with this on, I don't have to worry about nothing. You know, they know it's so many cameras with door with these DoorDash, these ring cams and everything. They have this ones, they have to walk out the house with it on their face like that to stay safe, bro. I hear it from these little young cats.
You're not getting away with too much nowadays though.
Nah, it's dumb as hell to be a criminal now, man. They know what you're doing. You got a snitch in your back pocket. This iPhone. I got a friend. She's a professor of computer science, man. This shit, these phones, these iPhones, these Androids got passive listening, man. And the right attorney get a warrant and take it to the like to your server, like I mean to your person, like AT&T, T-Mobile, and they can find out exactly what you're doing at a certain amount of time, man. So I actually don't like it. It's our privacy is gone. You know, in
Yes,
a
it
minute the
is.
system gonna be.
They
Go
said
ahead.
that that they can still see through the mask, by the way. Facial recognition. You have to put on a bunch of little faces or something all over your face. Like if you really were trying to block it, you'd have to wear like a hat and a scarf with faces on it so it will try to read the wrong face. Just want to put that out there. I don't know if all that's true, but they could just be putting that propaganda out so you don't think you can get away with a crime with just a regular mask on.
Oh yeah, I will put something out that's kind of like top shelf information that's recently declassified. A lot of these fucking cameras, ladies and gentlemen, detect who you are by the way you walk. like your gait. They catch you once, identify your face, and analyze the way you walk. Everybody walks a particular way,
Mm-hmm.
and your gait will tell you. And these cameras, some of these advanced cameras in secure facilities and high tech facilities, will analyze your face, get your facial recognition, and then record your gait. And they got you by the way you walk. And what advanced criminals are doing right now to defeat that shit is wearing a mask, and check this shit out, putting rocks in their shoes. Because if you have a rock in your shoe, you walk differently. This shit's getting out of hand.
Is that like putting rocks in your drawers and
I ain't
saying
never did
something
that before.
about
I don't
some
know.
homies getting
I
some
can't
jumps?
stand you, honey.
Homies calling the laws. Don't call them laws.
Why would you put rocks in your drawers? I don't
But hey,
understand that one.
Professor, I could
Holler
see
beep
walking
beep.
with a cane. I could see walking with a cane to throw it off because I did that before. I walked with a cane to throw off my walk because everybody tell me I have a distinctive walk. Like, nigga, I knew you from your walk from behind, so I know I wouldn't be able to get away with shit. But so if I know if I walk away with a cane, I know that'll kind of throw it off a little bit. You know what I mean? Because a cane with a limp, you know what I mean? You know, maintain that rhythm. You know, that'll throw it off.
Hey Twizzle, my as a country boy, man, my impression of Oakland is everything is pimping. And man, that's just some pimping right there. Can of limp. Is everything pimping in Oakland?
Yes, it is.
Everything is player, not pimping. As my dad always told me, my daddy was in the movie The Mac. He told me he never pimped a woman, but he never turned down. My dad told me he never pimped a woman, but he accepted whore's money, if you know what I mean.
Come on, Midwest, what you got?
Yeah, I dated a girl. She was into fabrics and some type of, I forget some pattern, but it's something called adversarial clothing, and it disrupts your image and even your face if you wear it. It looks like Coogee stuff, but it's like, yeah, tactical Coogee, and it disrupts the cameras.
Bro, your mic was kind of messed up. We could barely hear you. Repeat that.
Okay, you hear me right
It's
now?
kind of loud
Do
with
you
that.
have a
The mic.
background?
Yeah, turn the mic
Oh,
down.
hold on,
They
hold on.
doing something in the background?
All right, you hear me right now?
Yes, it's better.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
better.
Okay. All right, cool. I dated this girl. She was into textiles, and there's something called adversarial clothing. So it looks like tactical Coogee stuff that you can wear, and you're like a ninja compared in those cameras.
I mean, years ago, the military community, bro.
I kind of think I know what you're talking about when you said textiles and patterns, because certain kind of patterns can disrupt your vision and blur it a little bit. So
Yeah,
I would have
yeah. It's
to do
called
it. I would have to do
adversarial
a lot of bit more
adversarial
research,
clothing.
and I have to do a lot of bit more.
It's kind of similar to the uniforms that the military have nowadays, where they have different colors and patterns and kind of square shapes. Textile.
It breaks up patterns. But years ago, maybe about I'd say about 6 years ago, um, the military community declassified some new camouflage. Excuse me. The new camouflage they got a sheet that has an LCD screen on it. So the sheet, like just like a blanket, you know what I'm saying? You can wear it like a poncho, and all of the sheet is like a TV screen, you know what I'm saying? And it bends and folds, and they got a camera that will match whatever is going around in the environment. So it's a bunch of trees. If you're on a highway, it looks like a highway.
So you
So
saying we got
basically,
the
you're
predator?
invisible,
We got the predator now, huh?
and that shit's old technology, man. It's old. These folk ain't telling you where we at right now. In conclusion, back to the topic: if the Dominicans are Spanish or FBAs English, the core of that discussion point was to identify what Andy perfectly identified is that colonialism broke our mind. It created fake genres and gave a what social scientists call rank and file with respect to fictitious race. You're black, I'm white. I'm Spanish, you're English, and it assigned a value to it. So, therefore, people in the colonized jurisdiction, like the United States, like South America, scramble to identify with a fictitious category that has a higher prestige than the category that they were assigned, which, when you think about it, is absolute madness. That's insanity. I worked at Smithsonian some years ago, and one of these days, I keep having people ask me to do a space on it. I got to think about what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. I got to write that one out ahead of time for I accidentally say some shit that's going to have me disappear. But at the Smithsonian, you used to get a magic ID. Once you got, it's like a security clearance, really. The Smithsonian's never closed. They're 24 hours. They closed to the public at 7 back then, 6 or 7, I forget. 6, 5, 6, 7, when it got dark. Well, what was I going to say? There was an exhibit in the Museum of Natural History. Oh, go ahead. Can you hear me? Oh, there was a music.
Breaking up.
I'm breaking up.
No, something is breaking up.
Oh, I got full bars. I'm outside Atlanta right now. But anyway, there was a exhibit called Race, and some of y'all seen it because it traveled the country. But I was at Smithsonian when that shit dropped. So Race was a $136 million exhibit, a grant given to Harvard, Yale, Stanford, maybe Columbia, like the quote unquote good schools. I do air quotes good schools because at this point in my career, I don't know what the fuck a good school is. I don't know what that is. But anyway, they went around the world taking blood from every group they could find and analyzing the blood to see if we were different, if race really existed. Now, I saw that exhibit right when it finished, when they had their conclusion. And their conclusion was no, race, with respect to human beings, race does not exist. There was a slight exception. They said that basically blacks and whites had the same exact thing. There was a very minute variance. I mean, when I say minute, I mean it was like 0.0000000 point something. White people and black people were different, but Asian had a higher variance. Like they were differentiated higher than any other group, which I thought was interesting. But the conclusion was everybody was human,
In
right?
what way?
Well,
Do you remember? I know you probably don't remember.
oh no, it was numbers. It was just numbers. It was something. Oh, I know you would love
I
to. Yeah, I'm
I
gonna look it
would
up when
love
I
to
get.
know.
Yeah, I'm right outside. I'm about maybe 10 minutes away from my house in ATL. But yeah, when I get home after the space, I'm gonna look it up and text it to you. But it was some type of chemical. But Asian had the highest variance, and it was what I do remember. It was a chemical. It was a chemical compound that was different. But which I thought was fascinating. I didn't anticipate Asian being the highest variance. I thought it would be between white and black, but that was wrong. But before that exhibit, having a magic ID let me see stuff that before people were able to see it. We saw exhibits before they were open and whatnot. That exhibit was about to open that next week. Then they delayed it another week because the Christian right, the church got involved with it, and they paid another couple millions to say uh, they had a counter argument saying that race was it was some stupid counter argument that was not even worth saying. It was something like, well, is race real or something? Like they just wanted to add
They were
something like
Christian.
spiritual to it. Or yeah, the Christian right got involved. It was during a W. It was during W. Bush's
I just
administration,
found a way to
and everybody
blame
thought,
Arabs. I just found a way today to blame Arabs, Muslims, and Christians for slavery.
come on with it.
Well, number one, after the Arabs invaded Egypt, this Egyptian military leader demanded that Sudan supply slaves. It was like a treaty. You have to give us slaves. And so that kind of made, yeah, should I tell you the treaty so you can look it up? It's a little convoluted,
Yes.
but um after that, the Islamic world just kept spreading, and the more kingdoms they had, the more slaves they needed. So that just pumped up that trans Saharan slave trade, which really just branched off into the transatlantic slave trade because the white boy was over there too. White boys and Arabs. When I say Arab, I have quotation marks because the Arabs was one of them was a man of African descent, Tipu Tip, from Zanzibar, which is now Tanzania. But whatever, he was over there being the biggest slave seller out there. Madame Tinubu was running around being the biggest slave seller out there. And they one of them in the west in Lagos, and one of them in Zanzibar on the other side of the continent. And they were but all dealing with these 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 empires and kingdoms. So they're all doing it, but the main thing that's making us enslaved is religious people. Now think about it. Uh, the Islamic forces take over Egypt, and now all of a sudden Egyptians are demanding more slaves from Sudanese people. So they're all for the slavery, and they need more and more for each of the Islamic kingdoms. So they're for it, and the guy selling the slaves is Christian. This was a Christian man who was the king of Sudan at the time. He had another name, but it was located in Sudan. So he demanded that this Christian leader give him some slaves. Now, you already know we have the Christian missionaries talking about who should be enslaved. Oh, we already enslaved the native people and they're all beat down, so let's just move over to these other guys. It was a complete freak show. And then when they weren't doing that, just bottom line, these three religions and these groups of people are a menace. They are a menace, and they never believed that people should have liberty because they did this as soon as they got on that Niger River. They started selling everything, livestock, things that they foraged, things that they made, fish, anything that they could get. They started selling it, and that included people. They've been doing this since the Bantu expansion over there. Well, whatever expansions you want to call it. I don't like to use Bantu because when we say Bantu expansion, it just basically means something that's incorrect because those people, Nigerians, are not all Nigerians are Bantu speakers. So forget that. When people left East Africa to go to West Africa, that's when they started setting up shop, creating the golden age of Africa years later. And it all started off of that Niger River. All these kingdoms popped up, and they all had a mind to sell, sell, sell anything. And that included people. People were not excluded from the things that they traded and sold.
So you're saying a claim should be directed towards the
The church,
financial office? Yeah, that's a good point
the Pope,
because somebody, I think it was you, Wani, were reading the Talmud. Was it the Talmud?
yeah.
And I was like getting grossed out, like the one that said that it was okay.
They were
Oh my God, I don't
discussing,
even want
yeah,
to.
they were discussing sex with a 3-year-old girl.
Yeah, buddy. Like I didn't even want to repeat that
That's
one.
one of their court cases or cases. Oh, should I marry her? Should I kill her? Or are we married now? Like, what? Why are you dating a 3-year-old? What is your problem? That's not a thing.
That's just all
Sister
kinds of
Warning.
nasty.
You know something I saw that really tripped me out, and I never really tripped off this, but I used to watch this when I was young because I had big sisters. Shirley Temple. Do you remember Shirley Temple movies? They showed a movie
Yes,
where
I did.
she played a 3-year-old prostitute when she was 5 years old, and
Yes,
she
they
was
said she
kissing
did.
grown ass men.
Yes, she
And
was. And
when
they
I
did
was
that
young,
right
I
under
didn't
Whoa.
everybody's
understand it.
nose.
Yes, when I was young, I didn't understand it. But now that I'm older, Shirley Temple was, man. Come on, I'm surprised she not. I'm surprised her family not coming out for the exploitation that they did her, man.
She became an
They,
alcoholic and she had a meltdown because of that.
Mm-hmm.
They actually
Shirley,
did discuss it though. They said that everybody was trying they let me summarize it. Her family said that everybody was trying to molest her and they avoided certain people and this stuff still happened, but she says she was not physically harmed at this point.
I saw an interview with Shirley Temple, and her mom would get like sexually molested. Like she was like her mom went to some big producer in Hollywood, and in her child's mind, she couldn't understand why they would go in a room and a long time. She didn't understand it
Yep.
until one time the producer check this shit out. The producer was like, he just wanted to see Shirley, and Shirley had to be like 11 or some shit. She said she went in the room to see him and he was butt naked. And she was like, why in the hell, like thinking in her mind, why is this dude butt naked? And her mom came and got her before anything happened. But
I
it
got
was
one
the
better
intent
for
was
you.
that he was,
I got one better for you,
come
Professor.
on.
Remember the black man who she was always in the movies with, who used to be that tap dancing with her and always singing? It
Yep.
was a reason.
I
It was
think
a
I listened
reason
to
why
that.
he was there. You know what I'm saying? I was just reading and doing I was just doing a little, doing my little research, and it's just funny because Shirley Temple came up, and why it came up because of him. It came up because of him for the simple fact she wanted him around all the time for the simple fact he was protecting her against those white men. You know what I'm saying? Notice he was a big black man. And the only time she felt safe when she was around him. They didn't want him in the movies, but she demanded that he be in the movies because that's the only time she felt safe when she was around him. Ain't that some shit? It make me think about when that lady just put that shit on TikTok talking about if you get lost, go find a black man. That shit really fucked me up when I
Black
read that shit,
American
dude.
man.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you remember
Black
that, right?
American man.
But you know what I'm
Yep.
talking about, right? It just really made me
Mm-hmm.
think about that because Shirley Temple wanted that old black man in there for protection because she felt safe around him. Because he was the only
Well,
one that didn't want her.
you have to be very specific, white ladies and your kids, because telling them to go run up to any old black man ain't gonna work no more. It ain't gonna work no more. Cause they did all remember that interview they did? How young what kind of age girl could you date? And if they're talking about 8 years old, nigga, if you don't get the hell up out of here, crazy ass.
These tethers.
11.
Y'all not back in y'all
Go
country.
go look at the original ages of consent in these places. 7 years old in Angola. You think just because they changed it that they changed?
God,
You don't change that. That's your culture. You don't change it. Just because the global society is on your ass and you know you can't get any more begging, that's how they get them. Change your uh, age of consent, or we won't give you money. And they still do all those same things. They still have sex with 7 year olds. They still trade their daughters for goats. It's just ridiculous. And they won't stop.
And the
It's,
crazy part about it is they look at their their friends, kids and stuff. Like they will literally look at their friends, you know, child, 8, 9 years old and be scouting and shit. That's the type of evil shit these people be
That's
on.
that's
And they be all right.
disgusting.
That's crazy. I'm not even joking. They do that. They bring that shit here in America.
It's something Professor was talking about the other day. When we was talking about them aristocratic Europeans with wealth and everything, I remember it's something that y'all know me. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan, but it's something that Tywin Lannister said. He said, "Every lord, every aristocratic out there knows when you run out of gold, you have daughters. They used to sell their daughters off as political instruments. You know what I'm saying? They used to use their daughters as wedges to get into certain political families, to where once they seen that they was going bankrupt, they would marry their daughter to a prince or to a lord who had a rich family, just so they family could get bankrupt by it. You know what I'm saying? Like they said, a lot of people are related through marriage, and that's what those marriages was. Marriages, it wasn't marriages of convenience, it was marriages of political status. You know what I'm saying? That's what they was doing, and that's what those white men in those European countries. That's what they was doing. That's why they was on. Not only
They
that,
still do it.
they was even sleeping with their own daughters just to send them on off, because they know they wasn't gonna see them no more or none of that. Not only that, they didn't even really care about their own daughters, because they know a daughter is nothing. A daughter was nothing but just a attribute. Not only that, an asset to be sold off and married off, just so he can have more position, power, or political gain. That's
Man,
what they
y'all
know.
remember that play, Romeo and Juliet, right? The monolith, was it Montagues or the Capulets, right? Remember what he said in that play? You my daughter, I give you who the fuck I want to give you to. He said it just like that. Like, I give you who I want to get to. That's they exactly. They view him as property, right? That's why literally the whole idea of a wedding, the father giving the bride away, it seems romantic, but that's not at all what that was. It was literally him giving you the fuck
You
away.
know something?
They
I
used
That's
to be,
never
right.
they
thought
used to
about
require you
that.
to have the
All of
thing
that
called.
stuff.
I never thought
They
The
about
used to be,
that.
best
it used to require
man.
you to have an honorarium. So what happened is, a man would go to another man and say, "Y'all seen the color purple?" He said, "I come to marry your what's the name?" He said, "Nah, you can't marry her, but you marry this one." What that exchange would be was, bring me 7 cows and 2 chickens, you can have this one. Motherfucker will bring 7 cows and 2 chickens. Now, what that is supposed to do is, on the light end, show that, hey, if I give my daughter this man, she won't starve, right? But there's also like a financial gain to that. Like the brother said, when you run out of children, when you run out of gold, have daughters. Like that's what that was for. You used your sons to build your kingdom, use the daughters to sell it away. So yeah, but what's going on, Professor? What's up? Well, I need my bad.
Who is
Y'all
this
just came here
talking?
talking.
Who is that talking?
What up, man?
Hey,
Who's talking?
Kanye.
Okay, it has him as listener. I can't see it. Okay. What's up, Kanye?
What's going on, bro? It's been a minute. How y'all doing?
Yeah, that's real talk, man. And one part of our reparations claim, if I can get on that team, that academic or that legal team, man, we need our own. We're gonna need some reservations, like Indian reservations, because what I've identified through scholarship and with help of y'all on.
It was just me or he cut out.
Oh, I unplugged it from my Jeep, but yeah, our culture is not. Yeah, it
Hey,
auto
Professor, I
mutes.
love you, brother, but you special sometimes, man. Go ahead.
Totally special. Totally special. You can't have it all, my friend. Like I lack in the common sense department sometimes. But, but real talk. But I can laugh at myself. That's all good.
Man,
But
we all family, man. Go ahead.
we all family. That's right. Well, anyway, we're gonna need our own shit because our culture is not compatible with a lot of this filth out here. And that filth ain't just coming from immigrants from South America. It's coming from Europe. You know what I'm saying? We don't believe the same way, and we need our own jurisdictions. Native American lands have their own fucking law. Do y'all know that? They have their own branch of law. They have their own bar association. Like we need that. Imagine having an FBA bar where we make up our own rules and customs and have our own sheriff deputy department. Man, we build UFOs if we
The
had that shit and
Chinese do it
had
right here in America.
right, right. Yeah, I've heard that the Chinese got police departments in New York City.
Oh,
California, too. San Francisco, too.
Ohio,
Talk more about
Wyoming.
talk more about
Check
that.
these think I'm bullshitting, Professor. When Ping came out here a little while ago, he left some people out here. And one of the people he left out here, they anointed her to the board of elections of San Francisco. So now she don't even speak English. They did her ceremony and her thing in Mandarin. So anybody that get elected to office has to go through her. And now they just elected the first Asian female fire chief, and she can't even fucking speak English. You know what I'm saying? Do the math, bro. I kept telling people, man, we looking
We've
at
been
Mexicans, we need
invaded.
to watch these we need to watch these Chinamen, man. And not only that, San Francisco, they're going for a new mayor right now. You know what I mean? I want to see who gonna win that.
The whole West Coast has been compromised by the Chinese. You take a look at
Yeah.
the naval command. The entire West Coast is Asian Pacific. Like it's like you. I don't know. I be scratching my head on that.
Yo, how y'all
Just
doing?
in the middle of a conversation. What's up?
Who's
Hey,
speaking?
Hey, hold up, bad
Yeah, I
news.
know we all in the middle of a conversation, right? They got
What were you saying? Hold on, bad news. We're gonna come to you in a minute. But you were saying that the Western Naval Command is. What do you mean by that?
They're all
Who's their commander?
okay. So if you look at the naval command, most of the admirals on the western seaboard, right? They
Uh,
they're all Asian of Asian descent.
wow, I didn't know that.
So if you look up right now, right, there's been this ad floating around on Twitter. They're talking about how corrupt a lot of these people were doing these migrant visas and stuff like that. They were processing it through that. They're being real hush hush about it. But the Chinese, they have a very nice hookup with the Mexican cartels, right? When they migrate over here, they don't
That's
do it the same.
facts. That's
They don't.
facts.
Yeah, they don't do it the same way as other people, right? They go to South America, places in South America they go to, right? They have 5-star hotels. They sit at those hotels. They wait. They take nice little plush speedboats up the California coast, and they cross the border, and then they hop out and they have a nice little trail. They get picked up in those little charter buses to take them to San Francisco, Tacoma, Oakland, places like that. And then they sit there and then they get their pregnancy visas. Then they get pregnant. Then they have children there, and then they anchor the babies. That's what they're doing. So they
Uh,
already have it all mapped out.
that's
And then they
facts.
come
Wow,
with hundreds of thousands of dollars already designed. They just buy a bunch of shit, and now they have
jeez,
investments in America. That's what they're doing, and they're
man.
concentrating on the
Hey,
U.S.
brother,
coast.
brother. I think you're a little bit wrong. I was listening to
You say I'm
this
wrong.
Army Special Forces. A little bit.
What
Yeah, I
am I
listened to
wrong
this
about,
Army Special
sir?
Forces guy. What this Army Special Forces guy was
Army
saying how
Special Forces telling you about
you don't.
American domestic policy. All right, let's go.
Yes, he is because they teach. They have to embed themselves in certain people. They're not like killers like SEALs off the bat.
You
So
wait, wait.
since
So
they
you
teach those, he
familiar with
was
Army
saying
Special
how
Forces? You Green Beret?
yeah, a little bit, yeah,
09
yeah,
Sierra?
yeah, yeah. Oh, now Sierra,
You
no, I
sure?
just
Because
I just did
one
what
of
I
us know what
was.
we talking about here.
Well, when I was on the range in the Marine Corps, they'll
Yeah,
be
but
doing
Special
halo
Forces
jumps
is
from a
Army, so you
C-130
mean
from.
Marine Recon would be more your situation, right?
No, I'm talking about an ODA attachment. That's what I'm
But that's
talking about.
Special
But
Operations,
listen to
right?
what I'm saying. Well, that's
let, let,
special forces
let,
part,
let,
but that's
That would
not
be
the point.
Recon
let,
for
That's
you.
not the point, man. He's saying
let me hear him out. I know when military guys
this
get together, everybody gets in a
No,
pissing
no, I
again.
say this,
contest.
but that's the point though. If he's speaking about special operations, him himself would say recon. If I say special forces, that's an army
I
unit.
didn't say the Marine. No, the Recon's not special operations. It's the Raider unit. But what
Rangers
I'm
is
saying
army,
is that
sir.
this Army Special. I said Raider, Marsa. But I'm not talking about that. I'm saying I'm listening to this Army Special Forces guy. I'm listening to what he's saying. I'm not in experience with him. He says it's a country in South America. They don't have a visa. The Chinese go through there. They get through Central America, and everything you said, going through losing all these ships and everything, and using cartels. That I agree, but they were going through Mexico and going through Central America first, and I think it's either Colombia or some country that doesn't charge them a visa, and that's one
It's
way they're
Ecuador.
doing it.
That's the country, by the way.
Ecuador, okay, yeah, Ecuador, and they don't have a visa cost for them, so they get there, they like you said, stay in the hotels, and they go through this whole route. It was one guy talking to
So it
Sean
was a
Ryan about it
specific
too.
country you had a problem with.
No, they weren't
Well, you
going up
said
the
you said I said
California
something wrong,
coast.
so I'm trying to figure out what I said was wrong.
Yeah, you said them going up the California, all off the California coast off the bat. I said no, and what
and
that wasn't what
and
they
You
were
then in a
saying.
realize
kind of
that
way, in a
California
kind of way,
coast is
he
part
he's
of Mexico
right
too, right?
because they got videos and they got documentaries of the motherfuckers pulling up on beaches and Huntington Beach,
Yeah,
Half Moon
yeah,
Bay, and
yeah.
everywhere where they jumping out on boats running off in there. So
Wait, so
I
just so
yeah,
hear
we
I
Professor
hear
clear,
what he's
kind of
saying,
right on that.
and I don't think he meant any harm,
No,
but
no,
bro,
no,
you did.
no. Yeah, we all. It's
No,
all.
not you,
Yeah.
Twizzle. The brother did. He didn't mean no harm, but we got to watch how we talk because you kind of like shut him down, like you like. It's almost like you said you don't
Oh,
know what the fuck you're
that's
talking
oh.
exactly
about.
what he
I
came
know
off
you
as
Nah,
did. I
not
saying.
know you
like
didn't
that.
mean it
Nah.
that way. You didn't mean it that way, but yeah, we got to watch
No,
how
the
we
only
talk. 'Cause-
thing I didn't say the name of the country for a very specific reason, but I know exactly what he was talking about, right? But
right.
that's the only thing he disagreed with. He just wanted to hear himself talk.
No, 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 I did not, man. You the wasn't talking about SF. I wasn't talking about. I wasn't comparing SF to a Raider unit to
That's
Force
all good
Recon,
though.
Recon. I was just saying what this guy was telling me, and then I looked on Sean Ryan, and I was like, wow. And then what you were saying was true. I didn't realize
You
they was
said it
coming
wasn't
off the boats
entirely
off the
right, so I was
coast
trying to
too.
figure out what I said that was wrong.
from coming off Ecuador and using the coyotes to come in through Mexico.
Well, moving forward, it may be better to say
Hey,
it may be.
professor,
Yes, sir.
ain't military talk like street talk? Ain't certain things supposed to be
Uh,
spoken on here?
Exactly.
well,
But it's not even that though. But if you look at, don't take my word for it, right? Go look up narco terrorism, and you'll see who control those areas, right? So there's the Velasquez New Generation, so we're speaking about it, and the Sinaloa cartel. They control those areas, right? Now they don't make their money so much off of drugs anymore. They make it off of muling, and who pays the biggest? China. China also pays them, and guess what? Fentanyl. They have fentanyl super labs
jeez,
all over Mexico. See, now I know this
right.
stuff, and I don't like to talk about it too in depth. But when people trying to say, "Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about," it's like, well, what am I wrong about? Because I know this stuff. It's not even something I'm just saying. Like, never mind, it's all good. But I'm gonna let you have it,
No, no,
bro.
no, I hear you, bro, and it did sound that way, and I would advise the brother because the brother had good information, but I would advise the brother next time to say something like, "Brother, I hear what you're saying. Let me add on to that. You know, we got to be careful how we say stuff because the way I know you, and I know the brother didn't mean it that way, but what I heard what he heard. I heard, man, you don't know what the fuck you talking about. That's the way you sounded when you said that, but I know he didn't mean that because both y'all had good information, um,
No, in fact, but
but
if I'm wrong, let me know I'm wrong. But don't say the same exact
right.
thing I said, then say I didn't know what I was talking about. I was like, wait, that's strange.
Did you
Yeah.
know that Asian Americans are overrepresented in the military and they're choosing to become officers and not enlisted personnel? And that's a real danger. I want to draw your attention to the leaked
That's the
sites.
Whoa,
truth.
whoa. Say that again, Andy. Say that again,
Okay.
because that's what I was getting at with the Eastern Western
Yes, sir.
Seaboard.
I know you
Who-
are. And I've been watching that myself because I'm a Marine vet.
Thank you.
So Asian Americans are overrepresented in the U.S. military as far as holding officer positions versus enlisted. And I want you all to tie this in to two things that I'm going to bring out. I need you to think about security, our internet security, our oh, it sucks. It's just horrible. I talked to a guy who works for a DOD. He also has his own security business. Y'all, we are in such danger right now because of China and India coalescing. You know, they're fighting all the time, but they're coalescing on two areas, and that's attacking our internet system. And I want you also to remember that all these people who have been getting arrested for the last 5 years for the leaking of intel related to the tech field are Chinese. So those people being in our military and them being allowed to work in the tech field, like in the numbers that they are, is it compromises our entire security system. Now I'm going to tie that back into the gentleman who was talking about the Asians, and the Mexican cartel. I'm from Oklahoma. Did you know that Asians in Oklahoma have been getting arrested left and right because they have entire drug farms where they're growing not just marijuana, okay?
I hear this
Yes,
a lot. Yes, I
it's
hear
the
about
truth.
A guy by
And
the name of Chin.
and that's because we're allowing them into our country, and now they're infiltrating the tech field and security. They're infiltrating the military. They're infiltrating the drug business. And when I say infiltrating,
yeah.
yes,
Well, I don't brag. I don't brag on this. This is gonna be the first y'all heard about it. A couple of y'all know, but I just stepped down. I was vice president. Well, I was aerospace education officer. I commanded a program you can look up called Cyber Patriot. So I taught kids how to program computers. I'm real vague when I talk about it, but it was a government
As you
program.
should. That's how I'm vague. I'm very vague when I
I'm
speak about
vaguer than the
government shit.
motherfucker. I don't want everybody knowing my business, but I was over a program. I was an aerospace education officer, and I was over a program to teach kids how to program computers because America was falling by is falling behind. This is in 2020 to 2023, and I was vice president of the Air Force Association in Everett, General Everett in Memphis. But I'm just bringing it up to say I was over a whole program trying to teach American kids how to hack computers. Is a free program. There's scholarship money, you know. And y'all know it was like pulling teeth. I was in command. My command was from Jackson, Tennessee, all the way to the Mississippi River, Jackson to Memphis. And it was like pulling teeth to get kids. And when I say kids, our children, FBA children, to high SES rich white kid. Nobody wanted to do it. Everybody wanted to get on TikTok. Everybody wanted to get on YouTube. And I'm getting all these reports of Russian kids like learning Python, learning advanced programming, the Chinese kids. What I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is like what Andy just said is like verified. We are behind and we're moving into a world that's going to be cyber and we're fucking behind. And also, I was a liaison to the Air Force RTC program at University of Memphis. I was a liaison. I love that detachment, by the way. But that detachment got replaced. A lot of leadership in the well, at least in the total force community is uh, not just officers, but the officers in command are starting to look Asian. I noticed that when I
Can I add
Well,
left.
that
see,
part
the
I
in?
the
just
funny
stepped
part
in.
about
I'm sorry.
well, go ahead.
I wanted to tell.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh, go
Oh, go ahead, Andy. And then
I'll
the
be super
gentleman.
quick. I want to tell you why we're behind. So the one of the main reasons why we're behind in the tech field is because that particular field is built upon canonical education. And what I mean by that is you have to have the building blocks for math and science, starting from elementary, middle school, high school, and then the courses that you can test into in college. Now, they purposefully, oh, I hate the United States sometimes. They purposefully have underfunded our schools because they knew that this was going to be this huge gap. So they've purposely underfunded our schools in the hard sciences for years. Okay,
That's a fact.
years, and this was to ensure that we would not be competitive in the tech field. Now, you know, my sister's in the other tech field. She was in security when she was in the army, all this other little bullshit. So, this is not, none of this is stuff that, what you call it, it's just something I'm pulling out of the air and out of my ass because I've done IT boot camp recruitment and I went back and did all the like, little studying for it and how they were going to fund it and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, I used to work for a company that starts with T. I can't really talk their business because y'all not gonna get me killed. So that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't be careful. We're
yeah,
Be very
our shit's
vague.
being
We
monitored.
got enemies in here as well.
exactly.
It ain't just us.
And so let me tell you about this company that I used to work for. I was wondering why certain people own tech companies in the United States, and you know the underrepresentation and stuff. Anyway, you know how I was going on these like little crazy ass rabbit holes. So I started looking at our leadership um, in my company. Guess what those motherfuckers used to do? They were from the military. Okay. They had top secret clearances. And it just seems so weird to have so many of these people in the civilian sector. So when Black people are talking about us being closed out, you know, you can't get hired here and all this other stuff, everything that you would say, it would make it sound like a conspiracy theory, right? You know, like we're just hypothesizing, just putting these things together. No, it's not a hypothesis. We're not being conspiratorial. What they do to us as far as economic shutout in certain industries is so tightly controlled until you would not believe it. So I started trying to address these issues from the standpoint of the bullshit diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I wrote up this little thing and how diversity, you know, DEI actually is still used to exclude, guess who? Not Black women, Black men. Because I started doing the numbers of how many men that we actually get to recruit. I've been working in this field for God knows how long, and I've only had one Black man that I could get hired. Y'all know that's some bullshit, right? So I said, no, there's got to be a reason for this, Andrea. You know, some of this don't make no sense. So I started doing all these little reports when I had to go do my DEI thing. You know, they didn't know I was a traitor because I was in the feminine groups and all this kind of shit, and I don't like any of that mess. So I jumped into the military part of it, right? Because that would be my natural bent. So I said, I don't want to do the feminine shit. I don't want to do uh, the gender, sex, and crack, you know, stuff. And I said, I don't want to do the parent shit. I'm going to join the military, ERG, Employee Resource Group. So they were like, oh, so nice to have you in there, all on board, blah, blah, blah. We got several Marines in here. You should feel right at home. We heard about you. You knew that wasn't a good thing. And I said, oh, did you? And he said, oh, yeah. And so I said, well, let me read some of my reports because I have some issues and stuff. Did y'all know that we were on the Zoom call just in the evening time when we are supposed to get off work, sitting around, sipping and smoking. And all of a sudden, we get this call, Zoom, Zoom, Zoom on the Zoom. Guess who shows up? One of the super higher ups that I had been doing my digging on, right? And white guy, of course. So he says, hey, he said, you're Andrea, aren't you? And I said, uh-huh. And he said, well, we got some of your reports. And I said, oh, really? And then this is when I go to the stupid person. I said, oh, yeah, because I'm just interested in DI and stuff. He said, no, we got some of your, I'm asking you about, he said, I want to talk to you specifically about your interest in company security and immigrants and blah blah blah. I mean, I had written some shit. Okay, I thought it was just for grins and giggles, and I just submitted and stuff. And I said, "Oh, you did?" And so he said, "Yeah." He said, "Henry, did you have a top secret security?" I said, "Nope, I did not. I smoked weed, and I was stupid enough to tell him." And he said, "Oh, okay." And he said, can you tell me how you're putting this information together?" So I looked at him and I said, "Yes, sir, I can tell you." I said, "What I did was use the company information." Oh God, y'all know this if I talk about it. Everybody who's in tech, you'll know this person. He's
Well,
really
don't do it.
Hey, be careful what you say around me.
Listen, it's
I'm
40 people in here anonymous
people follow
listening.
me.
well.
Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. People follow me around and listen to what I say. I was a
Me
member
too.
of
40
certain
people are
of certain
listening. Oh my
communities.
God.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
so
That's a
So
lot.
Andy, I just
you
want to
said
remind you.
don't
Remember
say it.
OPSEC.
Okay, I'll
Just
say
remember
it.
OPSEC.
Yes,
Just
don't
that's
say
it.
it. Don't do
remember
it.
Okay,
OPSEC.
Mm-mm.
you know what? I can't say, but I want to tell you something. I noticed he got on my call. Um, they shut me down. I was moved out of the sourcing and recruiting for the boot camp. Yeah, they got on my ass like white on rice, grinning in my face. It was the weirdest thing ever. So I have a friend who still works there, and I talked to him like 2 weeks ago, and he says,
No, you don't.
"Okay, all right, you're right. All
What's
right,
wrong with
let me leave that alone." And he said, "You know what,
you?
Andrea?
Man, what did y'all? Okay, OPSEC, OPSEC,
Yeah, I'll say.
OPSEC,
Oh,
OPSEC,
you know what? Good night, y'all. Good.
Operational
Okay, yeah.
security. Yeah, be
OPSEC,
careful now.
Abortion,
OPSEC. Y'all is tripping.
abortion.
Okay, so let me tell you one more story, and then I'm
Yeah,
because
please don't talk anything classified on
okay,
my
Please
yes,
don't
page.
do.
okay.
He
Don't
did
do
it.
it.
He
Don't
No,
do
did
that
one
to
more
that.
me.
story and then I'm done. So we were talking about AI, and I think it was Twizzle who was talking about how they recognize you from the walk and all this kind of stuff. I meet the weirdest people, and I don't know how they're attracted to me. So I'm standing in the grocery store, and this guy looks at me and he starts flirting. Not my type whatsoever. Um, I just said, well, then I became super Christian. I'm like, oh well, let me pray for you and stuff. And he says, no, I really like to talk to you, outside of here and stuff. I said, okay, you can take your phone number. You know how you do that bullshit. And he's a retired football player. If I tell you his name, you guys would know him because I think he used to play for the Ravens or the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know for
Ma'am.
okay. You said skip it. All right, but he's not white. He's like Armenian, and he has a football camp here in Dallas. And so I was talking to him, and he says, "Yeah, my best friend is a Marine." And I was like, "Shit, I'll be back on this crap again." And I have to pretend like I'm excited. I'm like, "Oh, really?" And he says, "Yeah." And I said, "Oh, is that interesting?" He said, "Oh, very interesting." He said, "Because he's in artificial intelligence." I was like, "Oh, here we go." But I just thought it was going to be, like, a little nerd out. No, it wasn't. So we started talking about artificial intelligence, and he says, "And by the way, I sell it." I said, "You do what?"
Oh
He said,
Lord.
"I sell artificial intelligence to businesses." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I got that little funny pit in my stomach too." And I said, "Oh, that's really interesting." He said, "Oh, it's more than that." And I was like, "Oh, is it?" He said, "Yeah." He said, and I said, I have a problem with artificial intelligence. And he said, "Well, what's your problem with it?" I said, "My problem is how they view black people with artificial intelligence. How they're." I said, "Oh, I can
And
see."
he was talking to a recruiter, didn't even realize it.
Yeah. And I said, I can see how they're going to be using this against black people because it is so many, um, you know, Everybody knows this. If you've studied it, I'm not going to even bore you with everything I know about and how it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I teach
Okay.
this shit, and
But
you train a computer just like you train a
yes,
child, and you can
yes.
train it.
Right, and they
But
develop
Yeah.
certain
but
tendencies. They
it
got things they like, things they
okay.
don't like.
But
Yep.
you know in artificial.
What's
Yes,
probabilities?
but you know what they have done
But
in that they have made us the model of terrorists. They have made us the model for criminality. They've made us the model for even crimes that we don't commit. You understand what I'm saying? So we're okay. So
right.
we're the model for it, and it is trained on Black people. Now, before I decided to stop talking to him, he was telling me about how they're going to use that to build like robotic cops and different things like that. And he said, well, yeah, they're going to combine. Now, this is his words. And we've already been through this before. I don't know why I'm even talking this shit. I must be depressed. But anyway, he said they're going to figure out a way to combine artificial intelligence with melanin. And I'll leave it there.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
nanotechnology. We gonna leave that shit alone.
yeah, I'm
But
about to
what I did,
say you entering a whole other.
what I will urge y'all to look at, Andy. I don't know if you were in the Corps when they dropped those dogs. I guess maybe the Army has them too, but they have dogs now, like literal robotic dogs that they have a mount on them. They can carry like an AT4 or fucking a saw, or like they can carry weapons, and the dogs are programmed to go execute a target. This shit's terrifying. The police are about to get them. Robbie Blue, educate us.
Oh, good morning. Good morning.
Hey.
I'm listening, brother. I'm listening. The only comment I was going to make earlier, but you guys got so deep right now. I was just listening. Uh, it just made me think about when I was in the military and just the little bit of limited information that I do know about joint training. That a lot of times our special forces in Israel, like, and even Navy SEALs, they'll get together and do like little mock wars and training, and they'll even do it in California. And there's some places even in the Midwest. So I think a lot of times there's things going on that civilians are just not aware of. But all that goes into just to back up what you guys are talking about. I believe a lot of times our government plays possum. They know more than what they say. You know what I'm saying? And if they're allowing something, it's because they have a greater objective, and it usually doesn't benefit us. I'll land my plane.
Facts. Yeah, and what Robbie said, if you want confirmation of that, type in shit Navy SEAL graduating class and hit images. You'll see in that graduating class, and it's with all special operations communities. But I don't know if the Air Force does that. Oh, that's a good question. PJs do it, but most of them, you'll see Israeli. You'll see people in there. The Navy in there. I guess they call them dress blues. But you'll see like, what's that uniform? You'll see like Israeli special forces and like other special forces units in there. So basically, they all graduate the same schools. So there aren't that many secrets. There are uh, governments that work together with the United States. I did a training with the Marine Corps, and I was very surprised how high because the Marine Corps gets stigmatized. You know what I'm saying? Like
We
they say
deserve
they
it.
eat crayons. No, man, I was so impressed with you guys. I fell in love with you guys. Y'all are real people. Like you got to be. But yeah, I saw some shit. Well, I call you later, Andy, because I saw some shit there. I was like, holy shit, I didn't know the Marines were so high tech. Y'all had the F-35. I'm gonna leave it right there. Wells, and talk to us.
Man, how you doing? How's everything?
Oh, everything's well.
Good.
A little busy, but
No, I want
talk
to.
to.
I want and hi, Wani. Wani's co-host. How you doing? I
Hey.
wanted to just piggyback on what Andy is saying, and I don't think people realizing what's going on because these news it's very quieted. Um, Last year in the northern part of California, outside of Fresno, in sort of like in the desert, there was somebody that called in about an edifice that was a standalone um, in the middle of nowhere with a garden hose that was sticking out from inside this edifice to outside. Nobody knew what it was. And they sent law enforcement out there, a female, just one female out there, just to find out what it was. And there was a door, no windows, a door, no windows, and there's this hose sticking out this sinister looking cement um uh building, like small, very small. Um, when they opened up the door, they found three Chinese nationals in lab coats with vials of anthrax and HIV, lab mice, and I think there was one other vial of and COVID. Um, and these were Chinese nationals. In Queens, New York, there's a section of Queens that, I'm not lying to you. I was born in the Bronx and I know New York City pretty well. And 2 years ago, I went home to visit my family, and I went to go visit a friend of mine who had surgery. And I forgot why I didn't drive. So I decided to take the train. Let me tell you, when I got off near Roosevelt Boulevard, I kid you not, I got off the train, went down the stairs from the station, got onto the street, and I was in shock. I was in shock because I have traveled through Asia, um, and I swore I was in Taipei. Like, I couldn't find a black face. I couldn't even find a white face. Nowhere in sight. And I'm mentioning this because also in Queens, hidden in an office building on their top floor was about, and I believe they said about seven Chinese police nationals hiding that were there to shake down and force Chinese people within that community. For what? I don't know, but the New York Times article suspected, and they probably knew, but they had to say suspected, that they were there to force them into spying. Um, there is this young lady, a Chinese national, who was sworn in for a local political seat in San Francisco, who does not know how to speak English, but was sworn into a local political position in San Francisco, and she had to have an interpreter. There is also that mess going on with that Asian mayor of Oakland, where the feds had to raid her house. There's also that incident in Oklahoma, where you see white people have already planned for their demise, and it's here. They're so busy worried about black.
I think so. I think you're right about that.
I'm
Yes.
right. I know I'm right because I see it. They're so busy planning for black people's demise that they don't even seem to realize that they're planning for their own demise, which I love. Because you see, these people are going to turn around and annihilate them. You see,
They
they
are.
what you say, Wani?
No, I said they are. It is really, yeah, definitely. They are
Absolutely.
hyper focused on us
Yep.
and
Yep.
they can't stop. They're fixated on it. It's like we have a whole problem here in America that affects Americans, but you can't see it
No,
because you're so
they're
fixed on
blind.
us. You can't
Like,
see people running across the border by the millions.
they're blind with hate and racism. And so, there's acres and acres of land. I don't know exactly how many, but it was enough. If a black investment group came to those people and said we want to buy, they wouldn't do it. But the Asian people went there and they bought it. And what were they doing? They were growing drugs. I don't know from what, or something that makes the drugs. And also the Chinese nationals, you talk about the border, Wani, the Chinese nationals and the Sinaloa drug cartel and the other Mexican cartel, I forgot the name of it. They There was a big announcement a couple of months ago from the Department of Justice that they busted a whole ring of Chinese nationals and the Mexican drug cartels that were moving drugs along with these derelict immigrants coming into this country that were bad minded and only here to sell these drugs. A lot of these people coming here owe these coyotes money so that they're moving drugs within the country. What I do know, because I have somebody in my family that is a Fed, what I do know is that they are assigned different cities to work. That's what I know. That's what I was told by a credible source. Also, what's happening in Costa Rica? Just the other day in the Washington Post, I believe it was, I was reading it. Costa Rica, which was a bastion for the wealth of America and different people in Europe, going to Costa Rica, investing in, summer properties and living there. A lot of Americans are living there. Has now become the new place for target for the drugs to go through. So Costa.
Well, I'm gonna put some pictures in Jumbotron. I just came from Costa
Uh,
Rica. I went down there and I'm gonna put the pictures in there momentarily. I'm glad you said that. I couldn't believe how beautiful the fucking houses were. But I'm agreeing with you. Americans went down there like she said and were buying. I didn't know why, but
it was a place for them.
yeah,
Beautiful. It's a place that was cost effective, but it's gotten very expensive. But what has happened now? Now again, the Chinese and the Mexican drug cartel and other cartels are now using Costa Rica as their gateway into America and everywhere else. So, what Costa Rica has no infrastructure for, but is experiencing, is absolute violence. People getting shot and killed for no reason. There was a woman the other day that I was reading. Was waiting for a transportation to take her to her daughter's birthday. Shot and killed. They tried to rob her. There's people are being shot down, sprayed with bullets, just like what they do in Mexico, just like what they do in Colombia and Venezuela and all these other places. China has been feeding this country opioid and tainted drugs. America will not talk about it. We can have these people come to this country and plan for our demise. Let me tell you something. Don't you believe for 1 minute that that white balloon that was flying up across the Midwest, I think Chicago, Wisconsin, or Michigan, I think it was 2 years ago, this mysterious balloon, this white balloon, that was Chinese. Nobody wants to talk about it. But it's time that these people get punished. You can't go to their country and buy land. You can't do that. But they can come here and buy land. You know, I give you a story, and this is a fact. But prior to 9/11, okay, to show you how white people are so goddamn greedy and bad-minded. You tell me that you have a flight school where you teach people how to fly, and somebody comes to you and say, "I just want to know how to fly. I don't know how to. I don't want to know how to land." And you say, "Okay, I'll take your money." Do you know that that's what happened? Those men that took those planes into World Trade Center went to a school in Florida and paid those people cash to teach them how to fly and not to land. They should have been in jail for federal crime. If a black person went there and said the same goddamn thing, the DOJ, the FBI, the CIA, Interpol, everybody would have been on that black ass. This is what I'm saying to you. There's going to be, I know this may sound crazy, because my father always said these white folks are cursed, but I'm going to say something that's crazy. There's going to come a time in this country where everything they have tried against black people and has not worked. It's going to come to a time where their asses, and it's already started with them, because they're dying on the vine with opioid. They can't pull themselves up by their bootstraps. They can't knock on the door of a job and say, "I'm white," and get the job anymore. You got to be qualified for that shit. They can't do that anymore. There's no more mining.
and they did that to themselves. You know what I'm saying? Trying to compete with, trying to knock us out of a
Yep, and
job.
that credit score is killing them too, because they used to be able to put on a little hat and be white and boom, but now they check the credit score.
Right? You
All
can't.
of that stuff is hurting.
They're doing drug tests. And let me tell you something. There's going to come a time in this country, and I hope I'm alive to see it, where the white people are going to have to throw their white flag up and say, "Black folks, we can't do without you. We can't get
We're almost there,
almost
Welson. Like, they're being pushed in a position economically where they're going to have to give us reparation just to fix the fucking
And
economy.
that's when black folks come to the table and say, we're not doing shit. We'll go down with, we want that check cut, bitch, because you've been cutting checks for motherfuckers for decades, and we want our check. And that's when I'm telling you, because I've been hearing in a room, it was a room maybe a month ago, this white guy came in talking about, oh, we need black. I'm like, listen to this. Listen to this. This is a microcosm for what's going on. The white people are fragile minded. There's something wrong with their head, and they're trying to wrap their head around this shit. And at the end of the day, it's going to come a time when they're going to need black people. And before we turn around and help their demonic ass, they're going to cut that goddamn check and wait till the check clears and wait till everybody get their money before we decide if we want to work with your ass. Because we may just plan for your demise and get rid of you. You see
That's
them?
right. Then check my bounce. They known for those broken TDs. I don't
Right.
know. I don't know y'all. You ain't got good credit with me.
Let me just say I got associates and friends that I'm not going to identify that may or may not be stationed overseas, and I get calls and emails every once in a while saying, "Hey, did you hear that the dollars almost had it?" So we're in some deep shit,
Oh,
y'all.
Professor, I forgot to add, oh, there was one more. Just about 2 months ago in Long Island. Did you guys hear about that one? This woman, listen to this. And my mother said it. My mother says, now, see, if somebody was a qualified woman to apply for that job to be Governor Hochul's assistant, she wouldn't get it, but the Asian gets it. This assistant for Governor Hochul of New York City was arrested along with her husband about 2 months ago for being spies for China. They and in exchange for the information, they were able to get money, bought this big time house in this exclusive area in Long Island, and then a home in Hawaii. Folks, homes in Hawaii. Hawaii is one of the most expensive real estate in the world. They have a home in Hawaii, and the husband was driving a Ferrari. This is what they get. This is, if black people weren't going to be affected, I would say annihilate them all. Okay? But see, this is what they get for pandering to these goddamn Chinese, thinking that they're your friends. They're in here. This is going to be a cyber war. This is going to be a chemical war. This is going to be a war that America is not ready for. And this is what is going to tap their fucking ass, because when I take a look at these goddamn immigrants coming in here from Venezuela, Venezuela emptied out their prisons. And I said to my mother, I said, Mom, they ain't ready for the kinds of violence that these people bring. They will shoot you and your 2-month-old baby and don't give a shit. And that's exactly what's happening. These cops are getting attacked and getting beaten up. And I said, go for it. Because, see, when a black person is walking home from school with a goddamn backpack, and Eric Adams, for example, had brought back that stop and frisk, and all those kids in the Bronx and Brooklyn is getting harassed by the police, they need to be punished. And I always said, my dad always said, these people are going to be cursed. And they're cursed. And I land with that. I meant to tell you about that one with Governor Hochul. Shame on them, but fuck them. You know what I'm
Uh,
saying?
I wanted to ask Wilson and Professor, because I know Professor, you said you used to live in Tennessee. I'm just curious, what do you guys think about all that flooding and stuff that's happened in the Tennessee, North Carolina area? Do you guys think that that's spiritual, like that some karma? I heard that some of those waves were like 3 stories high, and then they got another hurricane coming to Florida. I just think that we're dealing with some spiritual things. And I'll say this as a side note, what I truly believe, and you just made the dots connect, Wilson, about a decade or, yeah, I want to say it was like around 2010. Somebody was pointing out to me, they said, hey, a lot of these elites are moving to like Southeast Asia and Australia. So they're able to make their money.
Hmm.
So it seems to me like they want to basically, for lack of better words, slut America out and make America the consumer nation where people own nothing. It's basically like indentured servitude. And then that's why they want to be a global citizen. Think about it. They're more interested in being global citizens than reinforcing making America what it is. So the same way slavery made America a superpower, they're going to use America to enrich themselves so they can stay superpowered. That's what I believe. But I could be wrong. But what do y'all think about the hurricane?
No, you're not wrong at
What?
all. You're not wrong at all. And I have already put this together. I call them Apple checks because we're not supposed to say names. They've been the leading global immigration proponent for centuries now. They're an ethno state, so you could say basically that they're an experiment. I believe that um, their goal is
Why
to
are they
use
doing? Go ahead.
to use the United States as a cash cow, as a human cow, um, to
And
support
where
them.
are they gonna live? Where are they gonna live? Seriously. They don't want to live in Israel. And people that don't even have a country have no right to be a proponent to flood everybody else's countries around the world with a bunch of foreigners. They need to sit down. Who do they think they are to flood anybody's country with a bunch of lowlifes?
Well, we can get how deep you want to get, Robbie? Because and the simple answer is yes. So let's look at Tennessee. Tennessee was created, and you know, my heart is goes out. Like I went to Memphis this weekend to move some stuff from our property there. I'm just now getting to Atlanta right now, but you know, I've kind of fell in love with Memphis. But the reason why is if you look at the flag of Tennessee, it's three stars on it. And Tennessee was created to segregate, like the star for Nashville for Knoxville was for rich whites. So the rich whites were supposed to live in Knoxville, Nashville, which is right. It's Knoxville is a city over from Nashville. It's in the mountains. So that's supposed to be the rich white, Nashville, Knoxville. Chattanooga was poor white, and the other star on the western end was Memphis. That's where the black people. So Memphis was designed for black. You notice that storm didn't fucking touch Memphis. You see that? It went up in the mountains and got, you know, got the. That's why I brought it up. It got the area. So there is a spiritual element there. If you want to go real deep with it, we've entered into the age of Aquarius. Have y'all noticed that children and even Gen Xers and millennials, we are interested in information now. We don't give a fuck about emotion. Well, Graham Hancock argued that and this is going to be a little weird, but there's a lot of scholarship to back this up. Every epoch of time is associated with an emotion and a just like a child. When you're born, you have terrible twos, and there's something to that. There's something to this whole to Mother Zodicaius, which they call the zodiac. It's like a clock, and it's 12 areas, just like a clock. There are 12 areas, and one area is Aquarius. And it's kind of hard to describe this without drawing it out. But Aquarius is coming into if you split the 12 in half, you have six and six. So six areas in the universe are associated with life and light, sunshine, and six are associated with darkness and death. As above, so below. So the planet Earth is a reflection of the greater whole, right? We have 6 hours of you know, we have 12 hours of sunlight, and then it's that whole cycle. So what I'm trying to say is there are scholars like Graham Hancock that believe that we're entering into the age of Aquarius, which is the sun is about to start shining. Like it's going to be the time for the melanated people. It's our time to shine. These Apple checks people that Andy talk about, they study this shit like a motherfucker. I've made myself a scholar of ancient Egyptian history, and what I found out is those people that Andy brought up know more about ancient Egyptian history than anybody. And it seems like they're scrambling to do something. Why are they scrambling? Because we're in the age of Aquarius and time's up. You know what I'm saying? They may have some type of plan. It's probably going to fail. So, yes, we're in a period where um, the tables are turning. And I mean, you can just look and see it, right? I serve Gen Z, and kids in the hood want to know more about business and what's really going on than we do. They're like, they own it. It's no mistake that TikTok and all these information venues are popping up because they're mandated by the universe. They have to.
Professor, I just want to say, in answer to Robbie's question, all I know is, what was it, 2005? I saw black people floating in the water. I saw dead black people thrown up on the side of buildings. I saw families that were floating in the water, with the elderly and the weak and the disabled members of their family and neighborhoods, trying to get to higher ground, and the military with their assault rifles telling them they better turn around or else they're going to get shot and killed. Those were American Black people in New Orleans during Katrina. And so when I look at what's going on in what is it, Asheville, is a fraction of what went down in New Orleans. I remember going to New Orleans the following year and looking at the devastation because they were lead-footed in trying to change that whole area that was damaged. You know, people had lived in these homes for decades that was wiped out. Okay, there is suspicion that the dams, the levees, were deliberately torn down so that more, because you see, and I believe my people. Those Black people in that ninth ward, they said, look, we've been around the block enough to know that this storm is enough that we could survive. They knew that they could survive. I believe it. I believe it. Okay, it was the levees that I believe that was deliberately broken down or dismantled to have all that water.
I ain't gonna say shit to have me
Oh,
disappear, but I heard some shit through the grapevine that
and
certain
what
organizations may have put explosives
The
on the
Army
motherfucking
Corps of
levees, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Engineers blew up that levee.
Stop it! Don't
they
do
had
it.
they had snakes,
Stop.
all kinds of these people were on roofs. They were dehydrated. They were under that sun for days. So let me tell you something. As I remember in my first few days years ago in Clubhouse, and I met Coach out of Philadelphia. Met him online. And he always said this, and I think about it all the time. This is a spiritual war. In answer to your question, Robbie, it is a karmic balance. It's coming back. I believe the ancestors have woken up, and this is a spiritual war. I don't give a damn about what's going on in Asheville. I don't give a damn. The only thing I do care about is the animals because I don't want to see them drown.
But there's black people that died.
You know what? You wouldn't know.
There's two black babies they have all over the internet.
Oh,
Well, what I find weird about that is I did my master's degree. I did my thesis project in Hickory, North Carolina. It's right up there, and that is high elevation, my friend. So I'm still trying to wrap my head around how did that flood. You know what I'm saying? Like when I did my thesis project in Hickory, like when you're walking down the street, you're like about to fall over. It's like you're looking down a mountain. Like, how did that flood?
well,
I know what Chris Willing is saying. She's just not saying that she doesn't necessarily care. It's like, okay, even I wrote to this. It's not that we're sitting up here gloating over
no, no,
the
no.
devastation. It's the karmic aspect of it and how bad it is. When Hurricane Katrina happened, we had a lot of those people come here to Dallas as well. You saw them walking on the street, they didn't have anywhere to go. They got put in a stadium. Y'all know how many people died in the stadium here in Texas? And then so it was devastation upon devastation upon devastation. And it was gross. White people from all over the United States traveled to Louisiana to kill us, to snipe us. And, we're supposed to just forget that. No, I cannot forget that. And so when you hear about the devastation that happened in Tennessee and it happened in that whole area, I've been writing to this for like years, Robbie. Do you hear me? Years. I can tell you something else that I'm also seeing in the spirit. Like I said, I would prefer to live, but we're going to lose a piece of the United States eventually. And you know why we're going to do that? Is because the devastation that we're seeing is man made. Yes, weather plays a part in it because they're poisoning our earth and our atmosphere. But did you all know that the United States also has an iron dome? See, did anybody here know that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So that means that a lot of things that we're experiencing right now is manipulated, but it's manipulated against us. And I really feel like because child enslavement was such a stupendously successful operation in the United States, that the Applechests have decided to use this entire country um, like a succubus or an incubus. They're going to extract all the labor, all the wealth, all of the political capital for their little shining heel amidst enemies. These people are bringing us to the brink of civil war. That's why I detest them so. They control.
I challenge all of y'all to look up morals and dogma.
Okay, and you know what? I have that.
But
I'm gonna skim through it because I know this is what's happening. I mean,
this is a fucking
yes,
plan.
yes,
Like,
it
and
is.
I sound, people say I'm crazy for saying this, but look at Albert Pike. Albert Pike was a Confederate war general, an attorney, and a member of a very powerful secret society. I'm not going to identify on this page. I bet y'all could guess what it is. But Albert Pike wrote a plan for that group of people that to for world domination in the 1800s, and basically everything he said, it was a three-part plan, detailed plan of first getting rid of the Russians, because the Russians, like Wani is pointing out, are they're different. Like Russians and black people would make good allies. As a matter of fact, a black man, or mulatto, created the Russian language, Alexander Pushkin. But the Russians were very proud. They're fearless. I got a Russian student right now. I love that kid. He's fearless. Just fearless. Like they don't give a fuck. They're not going to be controlled. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, the point is the tier one in the plan that Albert Pike put out in Morals and Dogma, which you can download off online, was to get the Russians out the way because their faith in God was too strong and they were fearless. And once they were gone, to replace them with Marxism. Now that gives me a pause because Marxism is associated with Satanism. Karl Marx, filthy ass, was a devil worshiper, by the way, and he was filthy. But Karl Marx admired Satan. He calls himself an atheist, but he wasn't. An atheist is indifferent. Like a true atheist don't give a fuck. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I don't believe in anything. But if Karl Marx didn't believe in anything, why was he worshiping Faust? What's it called? I always fuck that up. Mephistopheles. What is it, Robbie?
Mephistopheles. You
Mephistopheles.
said it right,
Me-
Mephistopheles.
Mephistopheles.
No,
It's
it's
basically the
Sophocles.
devil.
Yes, he's a Luciferian. But you know what? I know you always
Yeah,
bring him up, but what is the difference between the Confederacy? You'll bring up these different groups. Our government is still run off of the Confederation ideology. This is what is killing us. And they want to bring up Marxism as if this is supposed to be diametrically opposed. Well, when you look at the Confederation and the Confederacy, what the old South actually stood for, I don't see any difference between that and Luciferianism. They ate black people, okay? They ate babies. They raped.
it's all the
Is
same
same
shit.
thing.
Like that. When I was doing my studies on Karl Marx lately, like I'm sorry to say this, but I saw some parallels between Marxism and the New Democratic Party. I was like, they got some Marxist ideals, and Dr. Jordan Peterson pointed out, and I'm not a big fan of him, but he be knowing what the fuck he talking about sometimes. He pointed out that the real core of Marxism is the absolute destruction of everything. Like going back to Marx, Marx was quoted as saying, as an atheist, he was quoted at using a Luciferian quote from Mephistopheles or whatever it's called from Faust, and the quote is, "Every living thing deserves to die." So at its core, Marxism is about absolute destruction of everything. That's what it is, and the destruction is based upon jealousy because Marx could not do. He was a stinking ass fucking loser whose parents were rich. Like Marx is worth being studied. Karl Marx is worth being studied. His daddy was fucking rich. He hated his daddy because his daddy was kind of like a winner. He had money. He had maids and shit. Karl Marx used daddy's money, got married, and at some point Karl Marx's dad was like, "Fuck you, I'm not paying for you anymore, but I'm gonna give you Lynching." Lynching was his the maid. I know you got a new wife, y'all got a baby. I'm not giving you another goddamn dime, but I'm gonna give you the maid. She'll keep the house clean for you because you're nasty as fuck. That nigga got the maid pregnant and abandoned the baby. And we're supposed to be following his ideology. But anyway, Marx said this is my belief system. I can't really scholarly prove this, but I believe that Marx was into a cult, and he was Guess what he was? He was what Andy calls the apple check. He was that.
But let me
People don't know
But
that.
let me
What
ask you something, there.
what did you?
How is it when you're listening to like the Jordan Petersons, or you're listening to people who are against certain isms? My contention is, how does Jordan Peterson get to exclude himself from whiteness? Because we really need to say, and to me,
Oh, he's a fucking
I
racist,
think, oh, he
totally.
was,
But I just like his analysis.
yes,
I listen to him because I like his analysis. The only reason I listen to him is I like his a deep analysis of Marx because I think he's
yes,
right.
I believe it too, but it's like he's talking about his brother, is what is my contention. So although they're able to pinpoint, just the hellscape of certain ideologies and people and places, my disagreement. This is why I say I cannot bond with them over anything, because I don't understand how Jordan Peterson gets to sit up there in his self righteousness and not admit to what whiteness has done in our home country, in our land. Although Marx was despicable, his belief. I hate all of that. I'm not into isms. I'm not even getting to that little part because I studied it just like you have. I want to talk about the Jordan Petersons of this world, of our country, because I detest how white people they both get to claim and disclaim. That's my point. They get to control the narrative of, you know what, Carl is bad, but Kevin is okay. Kevin's like us. I get Kevin. And I don't like that. I wish he would have said,
Well, I do, and let me tell
okay.
you why. I do because I want honesty. I want to know where the fuck you stand. I don't want my race. Tariq said some shit that really the other day that really kind of identifies my stand. He was talking about Trump and Kamala, and I'm a paraphrase, brother Tariq, but he's like, I want to know where you stand. Basically, if you're racist, I need it. Okay, I can deal with that. Now I know the truth. When you know the truth, you can go from there. So I entertain Jordan Peterson's analysis of Marx, and I do entertain some of Jordan Peterson's psychoanalysis because I know what he really thinks. So when he says some shit, I can take his concept and apply it to our situation and get a true result as opposed to listening to a motherfucker that says I love everybody and then you get a clouded message. It's like, well, what did you mean by that? I like knowing what the truth is, knowing where I stand. Um, and he has really deep analysis on Karl Marx. Marxism is very dangerous because, and this is dangerous for me to say, but this is how I'm feeling lately. There are the Democratic Party, and it has some shrouded Marxist ideology. And that shit is dangerous as fuck. Professor Chris Hedges said the Democratic Party has become the party of war. And I was like, "You're damn right, it has." If you look back in history, the Democratic Party was the anti-war party, but the Democratic Party has become the party of war. And the overall ideology of Marxism is absolute destruction. Every living thing deserves to die, and I'm gonna destroy it because I'm a sorry motherfucker that can't do anything, and I'm jealous of people who can. That's what we're looking at.
Yes.
Smoothie, I just saw your hand. I don't got my glasses on.
Oh no, you good,
Mayday,
man. What's up? What's up, Professor and Juanita?
mayday.
How you doing, Robbie? What's up? What's up? Yeah, man. I was just down there listening and hear you talking about Jordan Peterson. The stands I take with him, it's about the message, not the messenger. I mean, Jordan Peterson, he's like a known drug addict. He recently had a horrible bout with benzos, and and other type of opiates. He had to go to a facility, a rehab facility for a while. He almost died. But I believe, his whole philosophy about cleaning the room, I always gravitated towards because I'm all about accountability, self accountability, and I believe there's a lot of work we got to do with ourselves before we able to even start to begin to fight white supremacy. And that's what led to my first edition of Smoothie's Ultimate Adventures about Smoothie cleaning up his bedroom. That's kind of
Yes,
the.
do a little commercial for yourself.
I know I had to do a
Oh
shameless
yeah.
plug. I know.
No,
I
go
was.
ahead and do one.
No, that's it. That's all I'm gonna
No,
throw.
come
Give
on
us
with
the
it, Smoothie.
commercial.
You know,
Dog, I'm gonna buy a copy.
hey
Like
man,
you, it's just
the kids
waiting.
love it, man. You should, man. You know, it addresses a lot of stuff, and you know, it's to help kids, man. If you know any young kids, especially ones who are maybe on the spectrum, ones who don't, teaches the kids, you know, confidence and how to deal with real world solutions. Uh,
Is it on your if we click on your profile, can we find out how to purchase it?
oh yes, ma'am. In my
Okay,
profile is
great.
a direct website, and then it has the links for the Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Books a Million. Is all in the stores, so you
Well,
know pick
that's
up a
nice.
copy or you can order online. Doesn't matter, but I appreciate y'all. You know, for supporting
I'm not
kids.
mad at you, man. I'm gonna get a copy. For, how much is it?
$23.99 right now. It's on sale. On sale.
Okay, I'm gonna support you. I'm not taking away from what Andy said. I feel what you're saying, Andy. But one of the reasons why uh I'm fascinated with Jordan Peterson, because even though he has that alt right, and he's not like he don't lie about that. He don't try to hide that. Even though he has that movement, guess what? The core of all his psychology, the core of all his psychoanalysis goes back to the story of Aset Asar Haru. His his whole world of analysis is built off a black religious spiritual system. And that shit just I'm like, God damn, is we really are the cornerstone of everything. Like you got a guy that's like, and on some level, I'm not mad at him. Who are we supposed to? We're supposed to protect our own people. You know what I'm saying? I'm a warrior for foundational Black Americans. Let him be a warrior for his people. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. But it's just on some level, it just like it excites me that even though he's on the other opposing team, the core of his everything is a fucking black family.
Well,
A set a
you
Saharu.
know, I'm not anti-intellectual, and I can agree with your perversity on listening to him. My thing is, we must always keep in the forefront of our mind that whiteness is anathema to black thriving. And so, one of the things that I wanted us to focus on when we think about our black canonical foundation in creating that, I really want to exclude white intellectualism. I mean, if we do nothing else, I want us to train ourselves when we hear a white thought that we go deaf, blind, and silent. You know, I'm so tired of their paradigm being plastered over me, and they have to perform humanity, whereas I'm a whole being. So I understand what you're saying because yes, his whole shtick, if I may, his whole spiel is based on the forever people. Well, that's us. And they get to create this dual narrative that some kind of way indicts and justifies them. That's what I hate about white supremacy. I always say it's a reifying ideology. I want you all to look that word up, Reifying, or just reify, Reify. Okay.
Let me give you a different perspective. Maybe I'm not telling everything. So one of my favorite hood scholars, Bobby Hemmett, did some real deep scholarship on what the fuck this is really about. Like, why are black people here? Why are we in this position? Why? And we're geniuses. We built the pyramids. Why are we at the bottom of? And Bobby Hemmett came up with some interesting theory. I think is right. What Bobby Hemmett said is the scholars of Egypt, with their knowledge of the different rotations of the zodiac, like different cycles, the life cycle starting with Aquarius, the death cycle starting with what's opposite of I think Leo, but whenever the universe goes into a death cycle, basically Bobby Hemmett said that the scholars in Egypt knew that we were going to go dormant. They knew that there were cycles of humanity where we were going to go through a cycle of a death cycle where we just become the walking dead. Like we ran the fucking galaxy for how long? And there was a period of time when we were going to go dead. And we were scared. Bobby said that the Pharisees, our scholars knew, they were like, oh shit, we're going to go through a death cycle, and they knew the only way that we would get our could preserve our information was to train the European. in all of our mystery schools. Listen and hear me out on this shit. So people were like, "Well, why the fuck would they do that?" And Bobby said, "Well, our ancestors knew that the European was had savage tendencies, and if we didn't give the European an ideology and train them into some type of morality, which was created for him, then they would just fucking kill everybody. Like no, there'd be nobody left. So we train them up into religious systems." And with morality and train them in our spiritual systems because when the time came where we would become awakened, they would teach us what we already knew.
Okay.
So they became like
Yes,
stewards of
I'm getting. I'm going.
information. and,
I wasn't saying that. I had to get
and
nothing.
no, I hear you. Yeah, yeah, but anyway, I view Jordan Peterson as what Bobby was talking about. He's a steward of information. Try to find a fucking book that really talks about Aset Asar Haru and that true spiritual system deeply. You won't find it. But I'm telling you, these people, these Europeans have direct access to our ancient scholarship. I went to Harvard for a little while, and even though I was paying fucking tuition, my tuition was paid in full, actually. Um, I didn't have access to certain parts in the library. Likewise, when I went to Georgetown, there were library, there were access in there were special collections. Like why the fuck can I? What do you mean I can't go in here? I'm a student. You know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying is, some of these Caucasian scholars have access to my information, and they have an issue with bragging, and they will tell me what I need to know. Jordan's one of them. Jordan helped me to see that every fucking cartoon, every show that we love is based on our goddamn history. Batman is a story of Aset Asar Haru. Asar or Osiris was killed by his evil brother Set, right? And his wife gave birth to a child. The child Heru was the hero, was the avenged father. That's Batman. Batman's Bruce Wayne got what happened? Dad got killed and he became Batman to what? Avenge his dad. That's the Lion King, Simba. What happened to Simba's dad? His evil brother killed him, and Simba's supposed to fight his evil brother. Like our story is the core and foundation of everything that's righteous, you know. And it took a white man that was trying to help his own group to tell me that. And I thought about what Bobby Hemmett said, so it kind of fascinates me on that level. Men's, talk to us. You have the last word because I got to go to work tomorrow. I just looked at the time. I'm like, holy shit. Come on,
Man,
men's,
you just
talk to
skipped over me,
me.
bro.
Oh, who do I skip over? This phone is a blur. Captain. Go ahead, Captain. I didn't see
Oh
your
no,
hand.
man's got it. Man's got it. Ain't tripping. Got it.
Okay. I didn't even see you down there, bro. Men's, you there? Going once. Going twice.
I'm not
Go
gonna
ahead, Captain.
say.
No, I wasn't gonna say
Yeah.
too much, man. But I know what you mean when you was talking about morals and dogma. Just know I know.
Man, that shit's real. Read it. Read it. And we're in that last stage, man. Yeah, morals and dogma. So the first, those of you who don't know, um, oh my God, I need really some time because I did a deep analysis on that in my last job at the historical black college, and I got lost in the library um for about 6 months just doing research. I found Albert Pike's fucking diary, and I found out I was like, oh my God, like Albert Pike. Let me tell y'all how deep this shit is. Albert, I'm gonna say this shit on the internet. I don't give a flying fuck. Albert Pike was members of Knights of the Golden Circle. Y'all hear me well, which is an ancient group that go. Wani, you remember that group back in Spain we were talking about? I got some old
Yeah,
pictures of
with
that
the pointed hat.
wore the pointy hat. Yeah, it's that shit. And their objective is to never let the black man rise again. Well, Albert Pike was caught all up in that shit. How he know? He was an attorney and a anyway. Albert Pike. Where was I going with this? Like, so Lincoln's old racist ass, who was mixed with black blood, Negro blood, we're gonna leave that alone, was forced in a situation to where he had to emancipate the slaves because he was met with a genius who never went to school named Frederick Douglass. We don't praise Frederick Douglass enough. That motherfucker was a genius. Ain't went to nobody's school and was a
The
slave who got
whole
abused.
newspaper.
Take that. I
And
mean,
trust white
got
people
severe.
out in the newspaper, called them all kinds of
There you
filth,
go. And
the filth of the earth.
yeah, there you go. I read his diary and almost started crying the shit he went through. I mean, they beat the shit out of like they treated him like a animal in a cage and came through, like Wani said, with scholarship, telling him to kiss his goddamn black head. But he's
Isn't he the
inspirational.
most
Well,
photographed
Frederick,
black man like in history, like during that time or something like that? With all his
I
elections.
don't know. I didn't hear that. I believe it, but I never heard that
What did you
before.
say?
I think he
But
was.
I didn't hear.
the most photographed black
Oh
man.
yeah, could have been. I see a lot of pictures of him.
Hey, Professor,
Well,
I want to ask you, man, why you don't record your space?
oh, they're being recorded by somebody else.
Oh, okay. I mean, are they available?
Yes, sir. You gotta uh, they're on Nikki the God's channel.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, look at Nikki the God's YouTube
All right.
channel. But yes, that they're being recorded. I had some people in there streaming my shit, so but we'll talk about it. But back to the point is uh and I'm about to have it. We'll talk about it in due time. But back Frederick Douglass backed fucking Lincoln into a corner and made him a deal that I give you the slaves if you basically if you free us. And Lincoln, being a smart attorney, kind of played Frederick by emancipate. Emancipate don't mean free. It means transfer. Emancipate. You learn in law school. It's a transfer, like a hearing when you do child custody. Is it's emancipation hearing. You're transferring ownership, but still we got freedom. Well, so you Lincoln gave his two commanding generals, Ulysses S. Grant and a very honest white guy who had liberal, like truly liberal parents, very educated, high society parents. His dad was an attorney, and he went to West Point. That was William Tecumseh Sherman. Sherman got the 54th Regiment, and something came over Sherman. His parents didn't raise him. And we really had a time period in America where that doesn't get talked about enough, where we had honest white people. We really did. Tecumseh Sherman was honest, and then John Brown. They were white people who really gave a fuck back then. I don't know what happened to them. But anyway, Sherman, something came over Sherman when he got his orders, and he's quoted as disobeying Lincoln's. He basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, Lincoln told him was trying to manage the war, and Lincoln and he said, "Fuck Lincoln." He told his commanding colonels to disobey orders. Like, "Fuck it, this is mine." And Tecumseh Sherman burnt the fucking South to the ground. Earlier today, I drove through the majority of Mississippi, and trust me, to this day, Mississippi has not recovered from William Tecumseh Sherman burning that motherfucker to the ground with black troops. Well, I'm bringing it up
Mississippi
because
burning.
Tecumseh he burnt that motherfucker to the ground. William Tecumseh Sherman burned Atlanta to the ground. He didn't stop burning until he got to Savannah. He thought Savannah was so beautiful he didn't touch it. Well, in Savannah, Tecumseh Sherman felt inclined to give black people under martial law special order 15, which gave them land on the coastline. So why am I bringing it up? I'm bringing that up because according to the Knights of the Golden Circle, the black man shall never rise again. So back in the day, the presidential office used to be bipartisan. Andrew Jackson was a Dixiecrat. He was a Democrat, and Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. They ran on the same ticket. That's how together America was. Well, when Lincoln gave word to to his vice president that Sherman gave the Negroes land, uh, Andrew Jackson's fucking sorry, worthless little low class ass. He's from Pulaski, Tennessee, right side out of Memphis. Andrew Jackson had something to do with the formation of the Ku Klux Klan. Guess who else did? Albert fucking Pike. How do I know that? I found out that Albert Pike wrote the goddamn song for, like fraternity's got a song. Albert Pike wrote the goddamn song for the fucking Ku Klux Klan. So what does that tell you? He helped form it. The Ku Klux Klan is a version of that shit that me and Wani were talking about, but back in Spain. This shit is old, ladies and gentlemen. Well, as history from my discoveries, I found out that Andrew Jackson freaked out and said Lincoln's got to go, and reached out to Albert Pike, who was a goddamn war criminal. They were trying to hang him, and gave him an olive branch and said, "We're going to forgive you, but we need a plan to get rid of Lincoln." So Albert Pike reached out to his fraternity brother in Knights of the Golden Circle, John Wilkes Booth. Y'all remember that? Who was a goddamn actor and shot Lincoln in the head. What y'all don't know is I forget the guy's name, but the goddamn secretary, Lincoln had a secretary of defense that loved black people, that was instrumental in. He was gonna do some more shit to free us. I can't think of this guy's name. Um, but he got killed the day, but like the day before. He got stabbed up by one of those Knights of the Golden Circle guy. So this shit's a whole conspiracy. But the objective, ladies and gentlemen, that we should never forget is the black man, woman, and child should never rise again. In America, having a house, when I was in law school, I learned that a house is your castle in most states, if not all of them, and therefore having property makes you kind of, in a way, in the eyes of what my law professor taught me, was having a house makes you a king. You're the king of your castle. That's well, when William Tecumseh Sherman gave us Special Field Order 15, we had houses. Guess what? That elevated us. We weren't slaves anymore. We were kings of the castle. We had land to command. Land changes things in the eyes of the law. The class about land in law school is called real property. What's the supposition? That's real. Like that car is ain't real, but that land is real. Because it creates an environment. It creates a status. But so basically what I'm saying is what I was said all that diatribe to say is Albert Pike is connected deeply to something very, very old. And I'm not talking about Masonic. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something else that I'm not going to identify on this page. But there's an old group that is very concerned with the black man rising again because they know who the motherfuck we are. And it goes back to Plato's uncle Solon. Solon studied under the Atlantean people. We're talking about pre-Egyptian people who knew things. I saw an interview the other day with Joe Rogan. I forget the guy's name, but it's a very interesting, geeky white guy. If y'all saw his picture, say, "Oh, I remember him." He was real smart, like an MIT type guy, real shy. And he was dry. He was in New Mexico or something, and he was a Caltech MIT graduate, and he would do weird shit. Like he built a Honda Civic with a jet engine out of spare parts, and used to drive that shit to work at a lab in Los Alamos. Well, Area 51, allegedly Area 51, um, uh, took interest in him because he was eccentric, and they thought he might think out the box. According to his testimony, when he got sworn in and went through his clearances, he was taken to S4, which is allegedly a secure facility outside of the alleged base of Area 51, which I'm not going to confirm or deny exists. Um, and he said allegedly he was there to work on a propulsion system that created a gravitational field. That's impossible. He said it looked like half of a basketball sitting on a plate. And he said when it clicked on, you couldn't touch it. Like you would try to touch it. It was like two magnets opposing. He said there was and I'm a physics guy. I taught physics. The total force community taught me physics. There's a long story behind that.
Me
And
too.
I love physics.
Want to fit.
And the sad thing is about physics is that shit is our children are being starved. I'm a little black kid from Alabama, and I remember I'm the Star Trek dude. Me and my dad used to watch. My dad was naval intelligence. He's a geek. I get it from him, and I always wanted to learn. I was happy when I got in 11th grade. I wanted to learn physics, and my fucking white high school told me, "Now, no, don't take physics, play football, and do theater." So a child, I didn't know to fight back, but that's part of my passion now to get black people involved in the science and computer science and physics. But anyway, so basically, the guy at the alleged S4 base said he started asking questions like, "What the fuck?" So he said when he was getting his briefings before he got this job started at the alleged base of S4, at the outside of the alleged base of Area 51, he said they gave him a packet briefing, which is standard, like the tell you what you're going to do and what's the background. And say he was reading this shit. He's a scientific mind, skeptical, like most of us. And he said that what you're going to work on came from Zeta Reticuli. He's like, Zeta Reticuli? What the fuck is that? But when you're dealing with secure classified stuff, sometimes as some of you in here know, you don't have to comment on, but if any of you had like a clearance, sometimes you'll get stuff that will have keywords in there that's like, what the fuck? And the reason why is because if I just go tell Robbie, like, man, it's some shit on Zeta Reticuli, but don't tell nobody. And Robbie goes to the bar and tells the broad, man, it's some shit on Zeta Reticuli, but don't tell nobody. And the broad go and tell all her friends, man, nigga, it's some shit on Zeta Reticuli. And that word gets out. um, People within the secure facility will know exactly where the fuck it came from because my packet has Zeta Reticuli in it. So he was thinking like that, like this is just some bullshit. And then when he saw the part where he was like, "Oh my God, these motherfuckers are dead serious." Well, the reason why I'm saying that is, allegedly, according to his testimony, this shit was dug up, and what I think is that was Atlantean technology. What I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, is I think we're an ancient race of people who were hyper fucking advanced. And like Bobby Hemmett said, the universe went through a death cycle. And in that death cycle, in that stage of renewing, just like a tree loses its leaves, we lost our goddamn knowledge. And Solon trained Plato up to warn him. He had the massive forethought to know that we were going to come back into our knowledge of our danger. That's the only thing that makes sense why these people would go through so much to keep us down. And after all they've thrown at us, we're still here, still standing. But that's going to be a
Hey,
whole nother
Professor.
room. Yes,
You ever
sir.
hear from Bobby Hemmett?
I heard, no, I hadn't. And I heard he's still living. I would love to
Me
meet him.
neither. I haven't heard from him, but my brother asked that same question on his YouTube channel. He was like, "Where's Bobby Hemmett, the legend?" I'm just like, bro, he struck a nerve when I watched my brother video.
Bobby be saying some really deep shit. Sometimes when people call you a kooky, crazy person, you get away with saying shit that I can't. Because people will say, wait a minute, did he just say that? Oh, hell no. They come get me.
I mean, but
I
it's
had a
truth though,
chance at
what he say.
the
And
yeah, the Navy reached out to me years ago, not long ago, like in 2000, was it 2022? And I almost became a naval intelligence, like joining to become a naval intelligence officer. I didn't do it because they would have made me an O1. And my daddy talked me out of that shit. He was like, he said naval intelligence. He said that ain't. He said they gonna throw your ass. You gonna be some down somewhere with some seals. Like it's gonna be. He's like, I'm a little too old for that right now.
yeah,
But why'd I bring that up? I brought that up because there's a reason why I brought that up. Oh yeah, I brought that up because like with that type of clearance, like the whole Bobby Hemmett thing. Bobby Hemmett gets away with saying stuff because he doesn't have that type of clearance. But one of my friends, an old Air Force sergeant, was like, "Nigga, you get top secret crypto clearance and you slip up and say some shit on X or on Twitter." he said when you say shit and you think you know it, they'll let you slide. But when you know it, you disappear. So I didn't take that job. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed you. I guess I'm gonna get 3 hours of sleep, and I went and bought a movie. I'm just gonna fucking play a movie
yeah.
tomorrow.
One more thing before you leave.
Come
When
on.
who that was that said something about this is man made, something about something being man made, and we have Iron Dome, which we do have Iron Domes. But
I did.
okay,
Were you referring to the anti-missile technology that's in Israel?
correct.
Oh, we
Yeah,
got
we do.
one
We got
too.
several. My thing is,
Be careful
Stay
about
up.
talking about defensive capabilities because people, I'm not. I don't want y'all to get in trouble. Like people
well,
watch me for
they can
certain
watch me.
reasons,
They can
but
kiss my ass. My thing is that it is man made, and what's going on in Carolina is man made too. Just FYI,
I wouldn't doubt it. But we're coming into our time,
it's a
ladies and
reset.
gentlemen. Now that actually does concern me. That concerns me for there's a nah, let me be careful. I'm not gonna talk about that yet. I'm scared of that whole resetism, the whole idea of if I can't have it, and it's their time. I'm just gonna fucking tear this. You know what I'm saying? If I can't have it, I'm just gonna blow it all to hell. That's what it says in Morals and Dogma. Like the first, and you can say Morals and Dogma was bullshit. A lot of people say, "Woo, talking bullshit," but he wrote more. Albert Pike wrote Morals and Dogma in the 18. Somebody check me on that. 1850s, 18. It was in the 1800s. It was before the Civil War, I think, but it was at least in the 1800s. And everything he said in that motherfucker, it was a three-stage plan. Number one, the Russians, you have to destroy the Russian oligarchy because they have a too strong a faith in Almighty God. Like they're going to do what's right, and they're powerful. After you destroy them, you install Marxism, which is why I'm obsessed with Marxism, the evil of
Come on.
Marxism, because you can see where I'm going with it exactly. I didn't want to say it, but you said you say what I can't. Marxism was part of fucking Albert Pike's plan. So how the fuck did Albert Pike know about the Luciferian Karl Marx? Did they know each other? Was Karl Marx in Knights of the Golden Circle? You see where I'm going with this? So and Marxism was just it's a front for Luciferianism. Do without wilt. Isn't that what Alexander?
LaVey,
What's the guy's name? What?
LaVey.
LeVay, no, the other, yeah, he said it, but do without will. That's really the whole philosophy behind
Aleister
Marxism.
Crowley.
Alistair Crowley, yeah, do what the
And
fuck you want to
Anton
do.
LaVey just copied that.
Oh, that's what I was talking about, Crowley. But that whole ideology of Karl Marx's favorite fucking quote was every living thing deserves to die. God damn you. And you're going to create a government for me? He wants to create a government of absolute control where you can destroy everybody. And I don't think it was for him. It was for a part of a bigger plan. Well, the first stage of Albert Pike's plan was to install Marxism, destroy Russian oligarchy, their religious strong faith in God oligarchy, and replace it with communism, with Marxist communism. Isn't that what the fuck happened? And the second stage of the plan was to get rid of the Germans, and once the Germans were destroyed, uh, raise the Applechecks people, according to Andy, and create them a homeland. This is well documented. Isn't that what the
It is.
fuck happened? Now here goes the scary part. The third part of the plan was is the final part. In the third part of the plan is to create a conflict between the Applechex people in their new homeland and the Islamic people. And when this conflict hits an apex, to spread nihilism in the West. And when nihilism gets to a certain point, to a crescendo, to eliminate all religious systems in the West, to basically use nihilism to help Western Americans, all Westerners lose faith in their religion. And when they strategically lose faith in their religion, introduce the true light of
It's all
Luciferianism.
spiritual warfare.
That's where we are right now, and we have to look at what group would usher in absolute
You know, with
nihilism.
God's people.
What political party? We already know who you think would usher in nihilism. Is no morals, just do what you do whatever feels good. If you want to be a cat, just say you're a cat. You know what I'm saying?
Professor.
Man,
All right,
anyway.
all right. Get some rest, Professor.
Hey, Professor.
Yeah, I could talk about this shit forever. Yeah, go ahead, bro. He
Let
said
me
get some
ask you this.
rest.
You
Okay.
know, with God's people, right?
Yeah, that's pretty
So
obvious.
when you're talking about all this Luciferian stuff, didn't in the Bible, see, people think that that Satan is in hell. No, he's not in hell. He's actually up here. So
Well, I'm really careful with biblical arguments because I don't want to piss anybody off. I believe there's a lot of truth in the Bible because it was, and I'm just gonna say this, and I can prove it. It was plagiarized from somewhere else. So there's a lot of truth in there, but I don't. I'm careful about quoting the Bible because number one, I want to know what version you're talking about, and number two, I know certain versions, like the King James version, is full of a bunch of poison to destroy our name, to destroy
The
our
forbidden book.
minds. It was infiltrated by this enemy that you're
The
referring to.
forbidden book.
You
Enoch.
know. Oh yeah, Enoch. That shit. You know what? I'm about to dip, but I'm gonna look over the book of Enoch, and I might have a page on that because there's some shit in the book of Enoch that will scare the fuck out of you. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I enjoyed y'all. I didn't intend to stay up to 3, but I enjoyed y'all so much that I did. We gonna continue this same place, same time. Tomorrow we might
You
start a
got
little
scared,
earlier
man. You
tomorrow.
wanted to go on the end this.
And no, I didn't get scared. But I enjoyed y'all, and we will pick that back up. Any last words, Wani?
Good night.
Good night. Peace out, y'all.
All right, bro.
All right, brother.